1 2 1 2. One two one two. Mic check. Hey, can y'all hear me out there? Hey. Against all odds. 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 Against all odds.
All right, good morning. We made it. We are good to go. It is the Rise and Grind morning show. And man, are we going to talk about some edge rushers today? I know we've been talking about them a little bit over the past few weeks, but I think today is finally the opportunity for us to put them in their place, at least from what I see. I don't know what Eric sees. I haven't seen a sheet yet. So we're going to do edge rushers, but we've got Lions news and rumors. We've got NFL news and rumors to kind of kick off the day, and that's where we're going to begin. So welcome into the Rise and Grind morning show. Good morning to everybody out there. Let's get Eric in here right away. Good morning, Eric. How are you today?
Fantastic. Wish it wasn't snowing outside, but other than that, doing 2 thumbs up.
Well, we had crazy winds last night that started up again this morning at about 5 a.m., knocked me out, knocked me off the grid, if you will, for a little bit, but I think we're okay. If there's any stream issues, you guys are just going to have to let me know. I'll do my best to try to fix it on the fly, but I think we're okay. I think we're good. So, a lot of news and rumors yesterday flying. I mean, I've seen it. I started talking about the JMO trade stuff a long time ago, the Kirby Joseph trade stuff a long time ago. And it wasn't so much as it's going to happen. It was the conversation of what if, and does it make sense? And can the Lions keep all of these players? And now it's starting to circulate again. I don't know if it's, are we running out of content before the draft, or are we starting to hear a little bit more underneath the sheets, if you will, that maybe there is potential the Lions are looking to capitalize. Eric, you've heard me say this time and time again, that when the ether is high, right, it's time to strike. Just like stock market, man. When it collapses, best time to buy. When it's high, best time to sell. Same thing with, your real estate market. Great time to sell right now. Not a great time to buy. But Jameson Williams, great season last year, first 1,000-yard season. Still hasn't played a complete season. But is he at a moment in his career right now where you could probably oversell him a little bit to a team? I think it's undeniable the talent that he has. I think it's undeniable the speed and the ability. But I also think that there's still question marks surrounding his maturity. Now, this will be a big year for him. This will be a year where he should really put all that stuff to bed. And who he is to start this year, I think, is who he's going to be as an NFL pro. This is going to be his first full offseason, no injuries, no suspensions. Get it done, and let's see who you are at the beginning of the season. Are you putting any weight in this potential trade of Jameson Williams during the draft?
Well, so the Detroit Lions hosted a speedy wide receiver yesterday.
Yeah, Golden.
So the Detroit Lions hosted wide receiver Matt Golden from the University of Texas for a top 30 visit. Now, Golden is suspected by most to be the top wide receiver off the board, or one of the first wide receivers off the board.
He is my number one.
So he ran a 4.29 40-yard dash at the 2025 Combine. He transferred to Texas for the 2024 season after playing for Houston. In his junior year at Texas, Golden had career highs in receptions, yards, and touchdowns, leading the team in yards and touchdowns. And NFL Network analyst Lance Zierlein's scouting report indicates Golden has the ability to play all receiver positions and shows the potential to become a productive player, possibly a wide receiver one in the future. He's just not quite there yet. And he predicts that Golden will be a good starter within his first 2 years in the NFL. But you know what? JMO has already been through the growing pains. A lot of growing pains. And I've put up with it, and we've went through it with JMO. JMO's one of my favorite players. I don't want to see him go anywhere. And I don't think we're going to see him go anywhere unless there's something going on behind the scenes that we just don't see. that we just don't know about. Maybe he has been a cancer in the locker room or something, but I haven't heard that, you know. So to me, I don't put a lot of uh, stock in this. I think they're just covering all their bases. What if there's an opportunity for them to move up and grab this guy? Maybe they do. But I would think that edge rusher or defensive tackle would be higher on their list than wide receiver. But this is subterfuge time of year. This is when you want to make all of your opponents think you're doing one thing when you're doing something else. So maybe that's what this is by bringing in Golden, and you're covering all your bases. It's really smart to do. And who cares what all the other teams think? Let's just do the Detroit Lions thing. We'll pick the players we want to pick, and hopefully Brad is just doing a little subterfuge, and he's making them think that maybe he might possibly take a wide receiver high in this draft.
I think that I'm gonna start with this.
Looks, throws, it is complete. There goes J-Mo right side. He's got the angle to the end zone. 25-20, 15-10, 5, end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. J-Mo flies into the end zone, and the Lions extend their lead.
Okay, J-Mo's electric. We know that. J-Mo's fun to watch. But I'm gonna ask everybody out there in YouTube land right now, how many wide receivers, top tier, number one, first round wide receivers, can do the same thing? I would say that there's a handful every year, 3, 4, that can be just as electric as what J-Mo can be. Not with the speed, right? That's rare. He has rare speed. But as far as production, there's a handful that can do it. So if you're willing to invest in a first round wide receiver and you have an early enough pick, yeah, it does make sense to rotate that room. Look, they paid St. Brown. So they're going to have to back that up with cheap contracts. I think it's doubtful that they extend J-Mo. I think he'll get the 5th-year option, and I think that's highly dependent on what's happening in the draft. Same thing with Aiden Hutchinson. My sources are telling me that there is no extension for Aiden until way after the draft. I wasn't even going to talk about that today, but I'll leave that alone for another day. The thing about J-Mo is you can't pay him $20 million, and you can't pay Amon-Ra St. Brown $30 million. You can't. So I think that the writing's on the wall. At some point, J-Mo is not going to be a Detroit Lion, and I think that is next year. Could it happen that they pull off a trade this year? It is possible. If you were going to trade him, this is the year to do it. This is the time to do it. Is someone going to give you a first-round pick for him? Man, if you can fleece somebody to give you a first-round pick for J-Mo, do it. 1,000%. And look, this is the analyst speaking, not the fan speaking, right? As a fan, I don't want to see him go anywhere. But as a realist, I think at some point you have to just look at the situation and say, yeah, it's not great. It's not great with what the Lions have to do with all these, pending contract extensions. So it's the unfortunate side of football. Look, if J-Mo was going to take a cheap deal, yeah, if he said, yeah, I'll stick around for $12 million a year, okay. I think that they'll make that happen for sure. But the closer you get to $20 million, I think the Lions, they know that they can't do it. There's just no way to keep everybody. Do they invest in a first-round talent like Golden? Well, let me put it to you this way. All of the mock drafts that I've been doing and watching, these receivers are getting pushed down the list. They're getting pushed down in the draft. We're seeing top-flight edge rushers getting pushed down in the draft. I think at 28, what used to be a bad pick in the first round, in this draft, you're good. You're going to be able to get, not so much a blue chipper, but I think that there's very high-quality draft picks this year at a few different positions. Receiver, tackle, defensive end. There's a lot of offensive tackles that, in my opinion, are going to be top flight guards. There's some really great options at the end of the first round. I think the Lions kind of have the world by the balls right now. They do. So is J-Mo going to get traded? I'm probably I'm probably 60-40 that he's not, but I wouldn't be surprised. And Golden, love him. He's my number one off the board. I think he has to be. After watching Tet, look, he's great in contested catches. And we're going to talk about the wide receiver group here in a few days, but he's great in contested catches. I think he lacks some speed. I don't think he's as polished as what maybe some people think he is. I don't think Tet should be the first one off the board. I think that if you want a dominant wide receiver at number one, depends on where you're going. You want a boundary guy? I think there's better options. You want a slot guy? There's some better options. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I do see where some of these really good wide receivers get pushed down. Let's go to Max Crosby for a moment.
Sure. So Raider star Max Crosby makes history by landing a college football job. The Las Vegas Raiders defensive end Max Crosby has been named assistant general manager for the Eastern Michigan University's college football program. This move makes Crosby the first active NFL player to hold such a position. Crosby, an alumni of Eastern Michigan University, will be working to help the Eagles achieve greater success. So he's going to be helping them with NIL deals and all that kind of stuff.
I think this is cool, man. That he's going to end up probably back in Michigan at some point. Maybe after his career's done. Maybe he comes back home. I think it's odd. I've never heard of an active NFL player taking on a general management role for anything. You know, I mean, yeah, you own companies or maybe you have some businesses that you're involved in or on the board of, but an active general manager was a general manager position, right?
Yeah, general manager of the
football operations.
Yep.
That's huge. Like that's a big commitment. And I think that what it's going to do is it's going to attract, some better football players.
Oh, he's named assistant general manager.
Assistant GM. There we go.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the work-life balance is for something like that, but obviously he's remote. He can fly whenever he wants to fly, but I think it's great, man. I think that this is setting up his future, and I think it's also going to help Eastern Michigan obviously develop some future football players. So let's see. Motown Mitch says he's close with me on the conversation of JMO 70-30. I'm 60-40. And Peter, so I'm putting out my first round grades this weekend, so I don't want to give it all the way. If you could wait just a couple more days, I'll put it out in an article and then I'll talk about it this weekend in a video. I'm close. I'm close. I think this draft is crazy. I really do. So what's next? What else did you have?
All right. So the Bengals have turned down multiple trade offers for Trey Hendrickson. The Cincinnati Bengals and defensive end Trey Hendrickson have not yet agreed on a new contract despite his desire for guaranteed money and a raise. The Bengals gave Hendrickson permission to explore trade options in March. According to Jason Canfora of the Washington Post, the Bengals have turned down multiple trade offers for Hendrickson. Several teams have reportedly offered mid-round draft picks for Hendrickson. The Bengals are holding firm on their demand for a first-round draft pick in exchange for Trey. The Bengals have publicly stated they want to keep him, and Hendrickson has indicated he would like to stay in Cincinnati if his salary expectations are met. And then the Bengals are projected to have a significant cap space in 2026, which could allow them to reach an agreement with Trey Hendrickson. As long as the contract resolution isn't reached, though, Hendrickson's name will likely continue to be mentioned in trade discussions. And will he play on the last year of his deal?
This just stinks. Like, it stinks to high heavens here for Trey. There's been an extremely bad breakdown in communication between himself, his agent, and the team. Trey's putting that on the team, that they're not even communicating at all. I think it has soured their relationship. Now, a pro's pro will figure out a way to navigate, through that water and repair the relationship should Trey stay a Bengal. I think I understand what the Bengals are doing, though. They're going to wait and see what happens in this draft. If they're able to lock up an edge rusher or two, I think that Trey's gone. And whether that happens this year during the draft, or this is the last season that he plays, or maybe he holds out and then he's traded, I think that the Bengals will not get what they've already been offered. The fact that they've turned down, or it's been reported, and alleged that they have turned down multiple offers for Trey. My question is, what was the offer? What was not enough? Because if they think that they're going to get a 1 or a 1 and a 2 or a 1 and a 3, they're sorely mistaken. Guy's 30 years old, and he wants a $35+ million contract. No one's going to pay a first-round draft pick for that. I don't see it happening. So take your second, take your third, whatever. Take a third and a fourth. I think that that's what you're going to get for Trey because of the big contract that someone's going to have to invest in, and he only has one year left on his deal. But I think this just stinks. I think that the Bengals are just playing the game. It's part of the NFL process. It's the bad side of the business. It happens. It's no different than, anyone out there that's a contracted employee. When it's time to re-up your contract, sometimes it's not easy. And in this case, it hasn't been easy. So I think for Trey, I think he's a hell of a football player. I think that he'll land on his feet no matter what happens. But he's getting towards the wrong end of 30. And he's had 2 amazing seasons in a row. I mean, really more than that, but hell of a football player, man. I would love to see him end up in a team that wants him, right? That's willing to pay for him, and he continues to have success. The other side of that coin is sometimes these guys get these contracts, and then they have a bad year, and then everyone's like, oh, see, this is exactly why the Bengals didn't do it. It's coincidence. I think that he's still dominant. I think he's still going to command double teams, and I still think that he's going to wreak havoc on offensive lines throughout his career, wherever he ends up. So I wanted to go through the Detroit Lions schedule for a moment. I got a question. And this is a real question. Like, I'm not just throwing this out there to throw it out there. Eric, do you think that the Lions will win even 9 games this year?
Oh, yes.
Have you seen the schedule?
Yep. Schedule will be doomed.
I'm going to be the most hated guy in the world right now.
I'm betting the over. It's 10.5.
I know. And I was listening to a few things yesterday. And it got me thinking, do the Lions miss the playoffs in 25?
Nope.
Do we go from, America's real team to missing the playoffs? And if that happens, I can see it already, man. I can see the headlines that it's because we lost Ben Johnson. It's because we lost Aaron Glenn. Well, that's a funny thing to say because the majority of these pissant, whether they're content creators or writers or whatever, harping about fire Aaron Glenn, and now they're going to turn it around and they're going to say, well, it's because, we lost Aaron Glenn. I don't understand that. It's like the hypocrisy is so bad. It's like 1 minute you can't stand the guy. You're throwing him to the wolves every chance you get, putting out all this clickbait media, and then you turn around and say, well, the Lions lost because of Aaron Glenn not being in Detroit. I guarantee it happens. For me, if the Lions don't make the playoffs this year, I wouldn't say that is the world's crashing moment. I wouldn't say that the sky's falling. I wouldn't say that the Lions missed their window. I would say that they just have an extremely difficult schedule. I mean, this schedule's nuts. Think about this for a moment. We know that we're on the road for Chicago, Green Bay, and Minnesota. Okay. I think that we could win 2 out of 3 of those games at least. And those games will probably be Minnesota and Green Bay. I think Chicago is going to be a tough game. On the road to Washington, yeah, I don't think we lose that game. I think that we show up. And it all depends on where that game is played, like what time of the season. On the road against the Super Bowl champ, that's going to be a tough game. On the road to Cincinnati, I think we can win that game. On the road to Baltimore, man, we haven't won against Baltimore, and I can't tell you how long. Kansas City, beatable. Absolutely beatable. Los Angeles Rams, again. Like, wow. And what they just did with their roster, that's a game that we could drop. So if you just look at what I just mentioned, that would be a potential loss to Chicago, a potential loss to Philly, a potential loss to Baltimore, and a potential loss to the Rams. That's 4 losses out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. So going a little bit better than 50-50, a little bit better than 500 on the road. Last year, we were undefeated. I don't think that happens again this year. And again, I'm not poo-pooing on my own team. I'm just being realistic for a moment. These are extremely tough games. New offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, not so new because Calvin knows the defense. Bringing back the same team helps. Obviously, having the same coach and the same GM is huge. But let's look at the home schedule. That's not even that much better. Can we beat Cleveland? Yes, we can. Can we beat the Giants? Yes, we can. I think the 2 toughest games that we're going to have is Pittsburgh and Tampa. I think that we'll be able to take care of the NFC North at home. Dallas, I'm not so sure that they've done anything different this year that makes me scared at all. I think that we can beat Dallas. Okay, so now that's 6 losses. That puts us at 11-6. I think that that could be the best case scenario. I had us going 14-3 when the season ended. Before I really looked at any of this, I'm like, we can go 14-3. We're not going to get 15 wins. I think it'd be crazy if we did. But I also don't feel like we really need to win the division or even get a number 1 seed to go deep into the playoffs. If we can just get in, that's half the battle. Now, typically a 1 or a 2 seed is what wins the Super Bowl. Maybe the Lions are going to be one of the teams that upset the apple cart. I'm not saying that we can't do it. I'm just saying that going from a year of where we had all this roster attrition, fought, clawed, scratched our way to a 1 seed, too many injuries bounced us in the first round or the divisional round, and then you have to turn around and play this schedule? Man, I think 11-6 would be the best case scenario now. And that won't be my final take until I see what happens in training camp. But 11-6. What are your thoughts? Obviously in the comments below. Tell me what you think. Am I being too realistic here? You know, I'm not rainbows and sunshine all the time. I'm more realistic, I think, than most. But let's have an honest, open conversation. This is a very tough schedule. What do you think, Eric?
Well, I think that we had a top 5 defense going into week 5 of the NFL season last year. And then Hutch goes down and Leem goes down and all these other players go down and 30 other people go down. That's what derailed the end of our season. That's why we did not win a playoff game. But if you think about it this way, we were so good in the regular season that we did win a playoff game. So that's the way people need to look at this. We won the wild card round because we didn't have to play in the wild card round. So if you look at it as we won 1 playoff game and then we lost in our second playoff game, wouldn't that make you feel a lot better? Well, it does for me because I know that. Make sure that's down. Making sure. It's like we did win a playoff game. So to me, we won a playoff game last year. And if our defense would have been halfway healthy, just halfway healthy, Amik Robertson goes down on the second play of defense against Washington. Okay, so now Carlton Davis is gone. You bring in DJ Reed. There you go, 1 for 1. And he might even be better than Carlton Davis. We don't know yet. And I think with what they do in the draft and making this better. So let's say we get someone in the first round that's an awesome edge rusher. One of these guys we're going to talk about today. We get one of these guys. We get a Shamar Stewart. We get a Nick Scorton. We get one of these awesome edge rushers. And you pair that with Hutch, and then you have Davenport as a backup. You've got Muhammad as a backup on the other side. Man, this is going to be even better than last year on defense. And I think this year's defense can be better than last year's defense. And I think that possibly Kelvin Shepherd might not be as stubborn as Aaron Glenn.
God, I hope not. You know, and I loved Aaron Glenn. Absolutely loved everything about him and the way that he commanded the defense. Obviously, he made some mistakes. And I think his stubbornness, was part of it. I don't know if any of the Detroit Lions players would admit that. But there's a few good comments here in the chat. Let's highlight a few of these. So, let's see. Raw B1 says, Morton helped a rookie quarterback and a lackluster studded Broncos offense make the playoffs. That's a good point. Someone else mentioned, do we think that Morton is really that big of a step down from Ben Johnson? That was Raw B1s again. So to answer that question, I don't think it's necessarily Ben Johnson versus Morton. I think it's Dan Campbell. And the reason why I say that is because this was always a Dan Campbell offense. And I think that it was proven that when Anthony Lynn was let go and Dan took over the play calling, the offense started to move the ball. The offense started to look good. And then when he transitioned that to Ben Johnson, and then he finally took the reins over in 2023 full time, I still think that Dan obviously was involved in a lot. Now, I don't know if anyone's really asked the question, and I don't know if Dan's going to give the answer. How much was he involved in the play calling, even when Ben Johnson was the offensive coordinator? If I had an answer to that, and let's say he says, I was about 30% involved in, play calling during the game, that would make me feel a whole lot better about this season. Even 30% is a lot. So game planning, obviously, week to week, he's obviously involved in that stuff. But I get this feeling that Dan Campbell hires a guy, grooms the guy, and then kind of lets the guy do his job. I don't think that Dan is a meddler. I don't think that he is a micromanager. At least that's the sense that I get. Again, another great question for one of the guys in the room to ask. Eventually, when I'm in the room, I'll ask the question. Not sure that I'll get an answer, but I'll at least try to ask the question. So for me, it's this simple. I think that we're going to have a good offense no matter what because we have the players, right? We have the same players. That is the first hurdle. Whoever's calling plays, I don't know if that really matters a whole lot. I think what matters is that you have Jared Goff that sees the field and everybody else that knows how this offense is supposed to run. And if they see a problem, if they see something that isn't working, I think that Jared Goff's going to speak up about it. We've already heard this year that he's going to have a little bit more nuance when it comes to the offense, a little bit more freedom. And that's great. So I'm less worried about the offense. I think it's more so that it's the schedule to me that we're going up against some extremely good teams. I'm not expecting the Lions to be able to go through this schedule and just beat everybody by 2 touchdowns. We're going to have some extremely close games. We're going to have some Jake Bates last-second field goals. Absolutely. I don't think that this is going to be a season where you're trying to capitalize on what you did last year, putting up 7,000 yards of offense, leading the league in point scoring. We're going to be going up against some of the best defenses in the league. In the Rams defense, they're going to be one of the best defenses this year. The Vikings, they lost a few players. They didn't do a whole lot in free agency, but they're going to be another really good defense again this year. Chicago, they probably made the most changes and will definitely be a problem. I think that we're going to have some challenges. Now, Philadelphia lost a few players. That could help us, right? In Cincinnati, I think they have a better offense than they do a defense right now. Washington's going to be a problem. We'll see. So at the end of the day, you tell me in the comments below or in the chat, what do you think about this season schedule? Number one. Number two, how many games do you think it's going to take for the Lions to win the North? And do you think that we can do it? for the third season in a row. Man, that would be incredible for us to be able to do it. So, a couple more things here in the chat. Peter Van Larwen says Ben Johnson received way too much credit for our success. I would agree with you there. Derek Lewis says I think Johnson got more credit than that he was due. So you guys are in the same boat together.
I'll say this about Ben Johnson. I think he also deserves a lot of the credit for how bad we did. So he was also stubborn.
Great point.
Just like Aaron Glenn. I think he deserves all the credit in the world for going empty back set wide on 3rd and 1 from our own 17 in an effing playoff game. That is the worst decision I've ever seen. And then Amon-Ra slips and falls.
Yeah,
ball goes, and
to me it was like this.
That's
just
best you
smart.
can do.
Is that the best you can do, Ben? Like,
Yeah,
really?
but then-
Is that the best you can do?
But then he's hell bent on having an offensive lineman score a touchdown. Yes, he got it done. Yes, it was fun. But how many other teams have their tackles going out for a friggin' touchdown?
I think that he was just being disrespectful. I mean, yeah, he was trying to get it done, and
That's what I mean. He's
To-
trying
to
do
what
the
ex- to-
boo-boo.
to what expense, right? To what expense did Ben Johnson put us at risk? And I would say that I'll just throw it out there. Did Ben scuttle the ship because he didn't want us to win before the Bears do, knowing that he's going to be leading the Bears the very next day? Signing with the Bears the very next day.
Yeah, he knew.
It really, I'm not going to put on the tinfoil hat, but I'm going to put on the tinfoil hat. I think that Ben Johnson royally screwed up. Now, these guys are known to be really good professionals, and I know it's Dan Campbell's friend. They've been friends for a long time. I feel like there's something to this. I feel like he just walked into that game cocky, unprepared, and did some things that really hurt this team. A few of those plays led to turnovers, and I don't care what anyone else says. Look, some of those turnovers don't happen if you don't call that play. Sure, you have to execute. 100% I agree with you. You have to execute the play. But if the play's not called, it doesn't go that way, right? If you hand the ball off, you don't throw a pick. Make sense? I think so.
You want to know a play that's over 90% successful for Jared Goff on 3rd and 1?
A handoff to
Quarterback
Gibbs.
sneak. No, quarterback sneak, because he hardly ever does it.
It's true. I don't
And
know
they
that I
wouldn't
would have done a
see it
sneak
coming.
there, but
But they wouldn't see it coming. They wouldn't know. They never would have saw it. Or you turn around, you hand it off to Gibbs or Montgomery and let them try to get it. And if they don't get it, then you do it on 4th down. Or you kick a field goal. One of the two. You're right at the 17-yard line.
and I get it. He was trying to score, but why not just get a fresh set of downs, buddy? I mean,
Exactly.
you could have walked away with at least a field goal had you not scored on the next 3 downs. But I don't see the Lions stopping. I think they go for it on 4th again had they needed to. Look, that play should have never happened. And I know we've talked about it to death. All right, so the Lions hosted a speedy receiver. Is J-Mo going to get traded on draft day? Is this his last season in Detroit if he doesn't? Some of the first topics we talked about this morning. The Bengals turned down multiple offers for Trey Hendrickson. Max Crosby, assistant general manager for Eastern Michigan. And I guess speaking of the schedule here and looking, so let's just go with this. If the Lions go 9-8 and miss the playoffs, is Dan Campbell on the hot seat?
Not in my opinion.
Okay, well, someone wrote something. What did they say?
Yeah, so let's see. I got to get down to it here. So the Bleacher Report ranked Detroit Lions coach Dan Campbell in the room temperature seat category for the coaches entering the 2025 season. The Lions have significantly improved under Dan Campbell, going from a struggling team to the NFC North champions 2 times in a row, appearing in the NFC Championship game and being considered a Super Bowl favorite. While the Lions were the number 1 seed and had a one-and-done playoff exit, does this warrant putting Dan Campbell on any kind of hot seat? Campbell is beloved in Detroit and has created a strong team identity with phrases like grit. The Lions are ahead of schedule in their rebuild, thanks in part to Campbell and general manager Brad Holmes. And despite losing both coordinators and multiple position coaches, the Lions are expected to have another solid season. Campbell's success makes him far from being in the hot seat, in my opinion. So what do you guys think? Is Dan Campbell whatsoever on the hot seat going into this next season? I don't even know how he gets put on this list.
Look, he's not on any hot seat. Okay. You could have put him on the hot seat potentially in the second season when Sheila had to come to the mic and calm the fan base down. He was never on the hot seat because this was a time for this team to rebuild. They're now into year 5. Are they still rebuilding? No, they're building. They're not rebuilding. They're adding, right? Brick by brick by brick. We're now into the 7th level of this building. I don't think that Dan can have, one bad season and be immediately pushed, onto a hot seat. He's under contract through 2028 at least, I think was the extension. Yeah. I think it's 28. So that means 25, 26, and 27, he'll be the coach for the Detroit Lions at a minimum. I don't think that Sheila's going to walk away from a guy that has brought this team back. Even if you have one, what could be considered a bad season for the Lions at 9-8, imagine that for a moment. That we're considering a 9-8 season as a bad season, a winning season, a bad season. I mean, come on, people. Like Chicago, 5-12. New York, 3-14. Cleveland, 3-14. Those are bad seasons. 9-8 is not a bad season. A winning record is not a bad season. Pittsburgh, they've done it the most out of anybody, 20 years in a row, I think, with a plus 500 record, inching their way into the playoffs every year. He's still around, right? Tomlin's not going anywhere. It takes a lot to win in the NFL. It's not an easy game, right? We sometimes talk about it like it's easy. It's not easy. What these guys do each and every day, the high level of cerebral intake that it takes to, run a football team, devise an offensive scheme or defensive scheme, teach it, and then execute and make these decisions within the snap of a finger. This is not an easy game. It is one of the hardest games to play on the planet. So I'm not going to say that Dan Campbell is on any sort of a hot seat. If he has 2 bad seasons in a row, sure, then you could talk about it. But I think that there would have to be something else going on. Locker room issues or sideline issues or something else going on that would put him there. But I don't see that happening. Dan and Brad bring in the right guys, and they're going to continue to do that. If the Lions finish 9-8 or 8-9 this season and miss the playoffs, the window's not closed, and Dan's not on any damn hot seat. Let's just hope that it doesn't happen. But I'm firmly in the belief that Dan is going to be the coach for a very long time, regardless of what happens in one season. So, don't forget, I'm putting this out right now, that Rockhound Detroit Lions is the only podcast live in Green Bay, Radio Row, on the night of the draft. And we are going to be giving away over $2,500 in giveaways, prizes, raffles, you name it. Last night on the Buy Me a Coffee page, I put up the first raffle, which is, let me post it up here for you guys. Aiden Hutchinson jersey. It's $5 a ticket. Depending on how many sell will depend on how many jerseys we actually give away. So you've got to get in now. Once we meet our threshold, this raffle will close. It's a blind threshold, so I'm not going to tell you how much we need to make. But there's the link there in the chat. That's for the first jersey. The next major raffle item is going to be a Kirby Joseph signed, kind of a gift basket, if you will. You've got a football and a mini helmet, and I'm looking to add one more piece. It could be one of those really nice framed pieces of Kirby Joseph that, they go for like $300-400. So it's probably going to be a $600, $700, $800 retail item. We're going to need to sell a lot of tickets, and tickets are probably going to be about $10 a piece. So that's our plan. We're going to give away. I have 2 tickets that I'm going to set aside for the home opener, and then hopefully we'll have 2 more tickets that are donated this week or next week. We should definitely know by the draft. I don't think that'll be a problem. So we're going to give away 2, raffle away 2, and then we have a lot of gift bags. I mean, Trace can tell you, she won one last year, and some of the other people that are in here won some last year. Loaded, just loaded with cool little knickknacks from the Detroit Lions merch, whether it's cups or pins or stickers, T-shirts possibly. We'll have Rocked On merch. So all the Rocked On merch that is available at warriorthread.myspreadshop.com. Some of that stuff is going to be given away. So tons of stuff. Get your butt in the draft show. There's going to be multiple shows on day 1, but share it with a friend. We've got to get to 10,000 subscribers to be able to give some of this stuff away. The tickets that I plan to give away on night 1, we have to hit 10K subscribers. We can do it. We need your help to do it. So please like, share, subscribe, and send it to a friend and tell them to do the same thing. You've got to be in there to win. The raffles, you don't necessarily have to be in to win. You just buy a raffle ticket and then you're in. So you'll just be notified as long as you give us your information. So make sure you do. When you buy a raffle ticket, make sure that you include your email in the question section. They'll ask you a question. So make sure we at least get your email. So it's going to be a huge night. We're looking forward to it. Could be a little bit cramped for us, but we're going to make it happen. There'll be a lot of people in there. A lot of people. It's kind of fitting, right? We're going to be doing a Lions show from Green Bay, your favorite place to be.
Now, I don't know what this means, but Kevin put it in the chat here. Where did it go? He said that in Green Bay, they're limiting it to hot air balloons. What does that mean, Kevin? This is Green Bay is restricted to hot air balloons during the draft.
I know what he's saying. I'm not.
Is that over my head?
It's an inside joke. It's an inside joke.
I think I might know what he means, but
yeah,
I was trying to get you to explain it.
All the hot air that gets, just like I was talking about with Aaron Glenn, man, you get a lot of hot air out there. So much so it's filling up hot air balloons. Yeah. What goes up must come down, right?
Yep.
All right. So let's we got anything else before we get into edge rankings?
Yeah, just one quick thing here. So they put out a list of everyone that's going to be going to the draft. So initially they said 8 to 10 players were going to go to the draft.
Yeah.
Well, now it's all the way up to 17.
Yep.
So I'll go through the list really, really fast. And these are all the players that are going to be at the draft next week. So you got Tyler Booker, a guard from Alabama, Jahad Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama, Will Campbell, tackle from LSU, Abdul Carter, defensive end from Penn State, Jackson Dart, QB from Mississippi, Matthew Golden, we just talked about him today, wide receiver from Texas, Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan, Travis Hunter, the DB wide receiver from Colorado, Ashton Genty, running back, Boise State, Will Johnson, the DB from Michigan, Tatoria McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona, Jalen Milroe, quarterback from Alabama, the tackle Josh Simmons from Ohio State, Malachi Starks, the DB from Georgia, Shamar Stewart, defensive end from Texas A&M, Cameron Ward, the QB from Miami, Florida, and last but not least, Michael Williams, defensive end from Georgia.
So over the years, the green room, where they have all the players sitting and waiting, or, the players that are invited, they're typically invited if they have a high likelihood of being drafted in the first round.
Yep.
Don't you think it's kind of funny that Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe are now on the list?
Yep. And, there's been players like Brian Branch that slipped to the second round. But you know what Brian Branch did? He stuck around and he celebrated with all the Lions fans when he got drafted in the second round. And he's one of the only ones that's ever stuck around. which blows my mind.
Looks like we've already got people buying some raffle tickets, man. Thank you. Really appreciate
Oh,
that.
right on.
And someone just dropped $50 on some coffee. So there you go. Getting your Rocked On merch already, man. We're having a good day every day, but it's even better when we can help out the Rocked On Cancer Foundation. So I'll drop that link in here again if you want to get it on the Aiden Hutchinson jersey. And just so you know, the way this works for a lot of the raffles and some of the other prizes is they're going to be direct shipped from this year's draft sponsor, which is Pro Sports Zone in Livonia. Make sure that you guys get into Pro Sports Zone if you're looking to get dressed up for the draft this year and you need some gear. Man, they are loaded. If you haven't been out there, you've got to go. They have 2 stores just absolutely loaded with college and NFL stuff. They even have some other unique stuff. I was in there, this weekend picking up the donations, and they had a Nolan Ryan framed art piece, huge piece. It's like $800-900. Nolan Ryan was my favorite pitcher as a kid. That is who I tried to model my game after. It didn't work out, but love Nolan Ryan. So he even has cool stuff like that. And so if you're looking for, unique pieces, one-offs, or just, your standard stuff, he has it all. I haven't seen another sports store have as much as he does. They've done an excellent job. So as far as hours, they're typically open to 11 to 8 every day, with the exception of Sundays. They're open from 9 to 6. Pro Sports Zone at Laurel Park Place Mall, 37700 6 Mile Road, Livonia, Michigan, 48152. There is going to be a Ennis Rakestraw signing on May 10th. It's $39 an autograph. I think it's $15 or $8 per inscription. If you'd like to get some things signed and you can't make it, or you live far away, well, package up your item and send it to them. I think that it has to be in the next week or two to make sure that it can get signed. Or you could potentially work something out where you can buy something from him and pay over the phone. I'm not sure how that works, but I'll be able to help you. If you need help with something, just reach out to me, willrock@rockedon.com, and we'll make sure that we get it taken care of for you. So let's get into these edge rankings, man. And big shout out to John Yu. Really appreciate all of his help and being part of the solution with donations and Rocked On Cancer Foundation. It's really nice to meet good people that genuinely care. He's definitely one of them.
Yeah, John Yu's been amazing. We did the podcast from his store, and he's hooked me up. I mean, that's where, so the second helmet down there behind me, that's a Aiden Hutchinson authentic real helmet with Hutch's signature. It's all authenticated and everything. I got that from John Yu. So the guy's awesome. I bought a bunch of stuff from them.
Yeah, he's a good dude. And we'll do some more stuff. Obviously, we're going to have a couple more events out there. I plan on doing a training camp event. So not only are we going to do this training camp barbecue, which you'll notice on the Buy Me a Coffee page, there's the training camp barbecue that we're trying to get set up. We need to get at least 50 people to go. $50 ticket. You're going to meet all sorts of cool fans. And then obviously you'll have full catered event. So barbecue catered event. But I want to try to match that up with doing a podcast and everything else with John. But going out there and doing a pre-training camp, get your butt in there and buy stuff from John Day. And we'll have some fun with it. So, okay. I had edge rusher rankings. Now, look, this one's kind of weird because I have my opinions on these guys. And you're going to have the consensus, conversation that's out there. I put a ton of information into this. You saw with the first release of 6 through 10. The second one I was going to launch last night. I didn't. I was going to launch it this morning, had issues with the internet. So I will launch it when we're done with the show today, because that way I can clip some stuff from today's show and make it happen. Give me 1 second. I got to start the recording here. Come on. Okay, edge rusher rankings, 2025 NFL Draft. We're going to be doing 10 through 1 in reverse order. These are not going to line up between Eric and I. They are not going to line up, most likely, with the consensus. I do my own thing. Everybody else does theirs. I think we'll have a little bit of fun with it. My stuff's a little bit long, but I'm going to start with number 10. So there's been a lot of conversation. First, let me say this. We have a mix of guys listed as edge that are also linebackers, at least from my perspective, but you're starting to slowly see where some of these guys are projected as linebackers. So how are they projected as a defensive end doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But I think that for me, number 10, James Pierce. And the reason why he's number 10 is for a multitude of reasons. But the most important reason is there's been some conversation where some off-field issues and on-field issues that he may not be coachable. Some of his former teammates have even said that the dude's just like crazy. And crazy is their term, whatever they mean by that he's just, and I think I've highlighted it in here, but I have him down at 10 simply because if he has got some coachable issues, he may slip in this draft. But also, it's because of the fact that he's more of a 3-4 outside linebacker. Now, he could be an edge rusher in a 3-4 scheme, but I see him more as a 3-4 outside linebacker. So this is definitely not going to line up, with anybody else. Who's number 10 on the Beast, Eric? I guess let's go with that.
Okay, so let's go there. So the Beast has Jordan Birch from Oregon. And then PFF has Braden Swinson. And then Eric's top 10, I have Jack Sawyer. That's my number 10. I threw him in there just because I liked watching him in the playoff game and the national championship game. I thought he did a pretty decent job, and that was enough for him to earn a spot on my number 10.
Okay. So number 10 was Jordan Birch for the Beast. And your number 10 was Jack Sawyer.
Correct.
So the funny thing about Jack Sawyer is I had him in my first edition of 15 through 11.
Yep.
I forget where I put him now in 15 through 11. Might have been 15. Might have been 14. So I see Jack as a really good inside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme. I know I'm nuts, but that's just what I see. His skill set, in my opinion, aligns more with an inside backer. I think he would be crazy good as a right or a left inside backer in a 3-4 scheme. Doesn't mean that someone won't scoop him up and throw him in a 4-3 scheme.
Yep.
I just see, the shorter arms, the shorter wingspan. I see him being a really good inside linebacker that can get after the passer. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But let me give you my number 10, which I've already said is James Pierce.
Yep.
Here's what I got. Showcased his athleticism at the Combine, created a lot of buzz as a top 15 pick in this year's NFL draft. Unfortunately, some not-so-great news alleging that Pierce, as uncoachable, surfaced, dropping his draft stock on many boards, just like the NASDAQ the last week. Sorry, is that a little too soon? I'm so
Very
sorry.
much too soon. Thank you. I lost thousands of.
That's right. Physical attributes for this dude. 6'5", 245 pounds. He's got 32 3/4-inch arms, 10-inch hands. He ran a 4.47. Showcased promising production, 38 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, and 7.5 sacks at Tennessee. Pass rush skills. He's got quickness. It's highlighted by an explosive first step, rapid acceleration, displays intuitive sense for timing his jump off the line. He uses speed and the ability to bend around the edge and his longer arms to disrupt plays. Pierce is more of a linear pass rusher, though, with explosive takeoffs and good speed-to-power transition or mixture. His backfield play. Now, when I talk about backfield, it means, like, what is he doing to get into the backfield? How does he handle the backfield when he's back there? So that's kind of what I mean when I talk about backfield play. While he often forces a quick decision from quarterbacks and interior blockers, his lack of lateral flexibility occasionally hampers his ability to redirect and finish plays cleanly, particularly when facing polished offensive linemen. His high pressure rate, it's partially derived from an instinctive feel for positioning, allowing him to work around protection for quick wins into the pocket. He's able to get into the backfield just fine, but I feel like he gets hung up sometimes with some of the better interior guards. Obviously, some of the bigger tackles will limit him, and he gets kind of wound up inside these guys. When they latch on, he has some trouble getting off. In the run defense game, Pierce has the speed to close quickly and tackle, but his base is naturally narrow, where inconsistent pad levels and delays in disengaging from blocks, as I was just saying, allowed blockers to neutralize his effort. So the quick burst off the line, right, using the speed to power mixture, and then he gets into a bigger blocker and he gets neutralized. If he doesn't win clean on the outside, sometimes he doesn't win at all. He has a really hard time, like I said, disengaging. For special teams, on special teams, he has raw athleticism. He exhibits an opportunity for impactful play. Nonetheless, his technical shortcomings mean that he has not yet become a reliable asset in that phase of the game. Just don't see a whole lot from him on special teams. Leadership and character kind of goes both ways for this guy. Pierce has recently found himself in the spotlight, not solely for his on-field exploits, but questions about his character. Former high school teammates have labeled Pierce as volatile, describing him as, quote, crazy, due to his reported anger issues. In pre-draft interviews, he made it clear that his passion for the game comes with a commitment to discipline and teamwork, a stance that has helped counterbalance the negative chatter circulating among some of the NFL scouts and evaluators. Each team obviously will have conducted a very thorough review and background on Pierce, just like every other prospect in this draft. If the rumors are true, Pierce will definitely drop out of the top 25 and maybe into the second round. We're going to see what teams really value with Pierce, or if they value some of the rumors. Have they validated some of the rumors? We'll find out on night one. I think he has undeniable talent. Like, Pierce is an amazing talent. But is he an edge rusher in a 4-3 scheme? No. Is he a defensive end in a 4-3 scheme? No. He has some weaknesses. Just about everybody in this class has weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. Tight-hipped, very long but narrow. Leaves doubt as to the limitations his frame build may encounter. When forced into prolonged battles at the line, his reliance on a quick, linear burst can be contained, and Pierce does struggle to transition into a more refined, power-oriented move. This issue is most evident in his run defense. Now, he did make the Freaks list by Feldman's Freaks list in 2025, as a number 14 prospect. This is what Feldman had to say. He has been productive for a good Vols defense, posting a team-high 13 TFLs, 7.5 sacks, and 10 quarterback hurries in 2024. As a sophomore, the 6'5", 243-pounder wowed folks in the Citrus Bowl when he clocked 23 miles per hour on a pick six against Iowa, turning in one of the fastest GPS measurements of any FBS play all season. The Vols coaches have told me Pierce is a legit 4.4 caliber talent. He has become a bit of a polarizing prospect, but he should impress in the testing part of the draft process. And he did. Now, biggest concerns for him, I deferred to Thor Nystrom of Fantasy Life, where I grabbed this bit of information that he shared, which is Pierce misses too many tackles, 20.9% career missed tackle rate, and he lacks the sand in the pants to set a hard edge. Love that quote. That's the biggest concern, miss tackles. His frame, again, when he gets locked up, he cannot laterally adjust to get free to make the tackle, and just too many arm tackles. Stats and measurements, you guys can find that when this is released. Or this is already released, obviously, on the Detroit Football Journal. I tend to agree with Thor Nystrom's evaluation, and I will add this. The limited hip flexibility hinders his ability to redirect smoothly during plays, affecting the overall effectiveness. He's a fly-by rusher, struggling to really control results, and he gets too deep, missing opportunities in the backfield. Sound familiar? Yes. Aiden Hutchinson was the exact same way in his freshman year in the NFL. He was a flyby rusher. He would use all of that speed and get really deep, and you would see a counter by the offense where they would find his gap and exploit it, and a lot of yards were given up. That has been contained. It's getting better. So you couple this with inconsistency in locking out, a delayed reaction to shed blocks, and Pierce is often neutralized by powerful blockers, all of which limit his ability to influence plays consistently. At the end of the day, I see Pierce as a 3-4 outside backer, not a defensive end in a 4-3 or 4-2 base front scheme. As an outside backer, he can fly off the edge, where he will he will be most disruptive using speed to beat tackles on the outside shoulder. Of course, I added some film room. My comp for him is Von Miller. I see some similarities here. Projected draft slot, number 21, all the way down to number 36 overall in the second round. Lions draft prospect, no. Character issues may be a concern. The 3-4 outside linebacker projection isn't helping either. His draft stock is a bit all over the place right now, and I think that he could be a mid first round pick, right, to the late day 2 slide, into the early second round. It's all going to depend on what these character issues really are. So that's my take on James Pierce at number 10. Eric, would you have a number 9?
Let's see.
And by the way, thanks for filling up the cup here. I see you guys are buying a lot of the Aiden Hutchinson raffle tickets. So keep it rolling, share it with a friend, and let everyone know, man, we're giving away 4 jerseys on draft night, at least. We're going to raffle away a few as well. I put up a couple of videos and some posts on the YouTube. So share that. Share that with your friends. Get them in. Number 9.
So on my list, I have Princely U at number 9. PFF has Princely U at number 9. And then the Beast list has Landon Jackson from Arkansas as number 9.
Ooh, we align. Who did you have?
I had Princely U.
Princely U, and I have Landon Jackson. So when I get to Princely U, let us know what you found on Princely U. So I definitely have Landon Jackson at number 9. I honestly would love to see him a little bit higher on my own list, but he's not for right now. I think that Landon's going to be one of the best to come out of this draft in the edge rusher department. I think that his skill set is more refined than some of these guys, but he's just not getting the high-end attention that he deserves. So Landon Jackson at number 9 in my top 10 list for this year's edge rushers 2025 NFL draft. Landon Jackson, man, impressive showing at the NFL Combine this year. He really positioned himself as a borderline first-round pick. He possesses a very long, wide frame. Perfect, in my opinion, for that 4-3 defensive end. Plays with natural bend on the edge and with connected hands and feet. If you haven't heard this term before, what I mean by that is his feet and his hands are moving at the same rate, right? When a foot's dropping, a hand's moving. When a hand's coming up, there's a foot coming underneath. He plays connected. And when you have all of that connected energy, you are able to explode. And that is what Landon Jackson does. It should allow him to really develop a more impactful rush counters at the next level. His 2024 season, second team All-SEC. He led the team with 6.5 sacks, tied for the team lead with 9.5 TFLs, started all 12 games, or at least started 12 games, 49 tackles, 3 pass breakups, a 1 forced fumble, and a blocked kick. What can't he do? Physical attributes. Naturally slim build very early on in his career. Came in at 235 pounds in 2022. That has definitely evolved. He added over 45 pounds between his sophomore and junior years through muscle development and dietary changes. Now at 6'6", 264 pounds, 33.25-inch arms, 10.5-inch hands, near elite ape index of a 1.07. It is easy to see how Jackson was able to add the bulk to create an imposing frame with a tremendous wingspan accentuated by broad shoulders. That ape index is everything. The wider that you are and the longer that you can be means that you can add more weight without losing speed. And I don't mean fat. You got to add muscle, right? But even for some of the bigger defensive tackles, they need to carry a little bit of blubber on them, which means that, it's not going to reduce their speed a whole lot when they have a longer ape index. Pass rush skills. He utilizes very long strides to quickly gain depth and employs a precise physical swipe to navigate past blockers, and he really greases that corner. His signature move is an outside Euro step, combines that with a cross chop action. It's been highly effective for him. Notably demonstrated in reps against LSU left tackle Will Campbell. And I put this video on the top 10 list here, 6 through 10 on the Detroit Football Journal. Equipped with powerful, tenacious hands, Jackson excels at tearing through obstacles to disrupt offensive plays. Really love this work by him against Campbell. And what you'll notice is a really good setup by him. He really sets the guy up. Freaks list. Imagine that. He made the 25 Feldman's Freaks list. This is what he said. At number 26, Landon Jackson. He began his career at LSU, but flourished after transferring to Arkansas, recorded 23 tackles for loss and 12 sacks in the past 2 seasons. He was 6'6", 281 pounds. Jackson topped out at 20.4 miles per hour last offseason. Broad jumped 10'2", 124 inches, and a 34-inch vertical. The guy just has all the tools, man, and he uses them to really take advantage of these tackles. Backfield play, exceptional vision, and relentless activity level. It enables him to retrace and react when a quarterback climbs the pocket. His ability to adjust mid-play really highlights his football intelligence and the adaptability and awareness on the field. Run defense, he possesses above-average run awareness and is consistently in pursuit of the ball. He demonstrates a fearless tackling technique. He drops his pads, man, and he explodes through that ball carrier with force. He is not an arm tackler. He's going to hit you with everything he has. Special teams, proven contributor on special teams. He has blocked 2 field goals in the last 3 seasons, and it really showcased his athleticism and situational awareness, leadership and character. A 2-year captain at Arkansas, Jackson is highly regarded for his positive influence within the locker room. Quote by the scouts admire his first mentality, where his team first mentality, where one had said this, quote, "I love how he doesn't get obsessed with his own stats. He just wants to win and impact the game," end quote. Sounds like a Lions guy to me. Flaws and weaknesses. Jackson's reactions on zone read exchanges can be slow at times, with body tightness reducing his fluidity to get that, to get lateral or upfield to make the play. Some lower body stiffness at times also shows up on stunts and loops, which allows blockers a little bit of time to adjust. Now, his speed to power transitions, they can falter at times due to his upright posture, and his counter moves are still a work in progress. Sounds like a lot of flaws, right? It's not. Everybody in this class has very similar flaws and weaknesses. And the reason why is because these things are what is worked on at the next level, right? You continue to evolve and you continue to get better. And these types of technical training that he's going to receive at the next level, far beyond the scope of what he's received so far. Just like everybody else that you're going to, hear about in this class, once they make it to the NFL, a lot of this stuff starts to work its way out. It's the ones that don't change, it's the ones that don't adapt and get better that you're going to see kind of fall off the wayside anyway within the first 3 seasons. My biggest concern, injuries. Jackson endured 2 season-ending injuries in high school. He had a torn ACL in 2018. He had a broken ankle in 2020. And then he re-tore the ACL after joining LSU, required surgery that sidelined him in 2021 and spring practices in 2022 at Arkansas. He suffered a neck injury in November of 2024 during his final college game, which required him to be carted off the field and taken to the hospital for precautionary reasons. Now, last year, wasn't it Laiatu Latu that also had a neck injury that a lot of us were worried about and did not expect for him to go early in the draft? And I believe he still went early enough in the draft. So I'm a little bit less concerned about the neck injury, but it is something that obviously his pre-draft medical process he's going to have to clear. Stats and measurements you can find on the Beast or anywhere else, PFF, ESPN, or right here on the Detroit Football Journal. Primarily played as the buck end, Jackson took 94.6% of his snaps in 2024, lined up over the outside of the offensive tackle. More of the wide nine position, right? His imposing frame, physical style, and big block motor ensures that he's always around the action. I expect Jackson to be a top 3 producer for this edge class when we redraft it in 2028. I can't think of a more perfect blend for a 4-3 power and speed end in this draft. He has a little bit of both. My comp, TJ Watt, Trey Hendrickson, projected round number 28 in the round 1, or all the way down to 47 in round 2. Is he a Lions prospect? You damn right he is. Landed as a special talent, gifted ability, leadership. It's exactly what the Lions look for in a human being, and also loves football. Detroit will need to make some moves to get into the mid-40s if they want a shot at Landon Jackson. Number 8 is where we're going next.
All right. Number 8, this is where I put James Pierce, the workout warrior from the combine. And at number 8 on PFF, this is where they put the gentleman we were just talking about, Landon Jackson from Arkansas. And then the Beast list has JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State.
I like JT.
At number 8.
I really like JT. And I think for some reason, did I leave him off my list somewhere?
He's not on mine.
Wait, where did I put JT?
My list is more of who I want to see the Lions draft. So my number 4, 5, and 6 are the 3 guys I really want to see.
I might have put JT in the bottom 5. All right, so let me get to my number 8. My number 8 in the 2025 NFL Draft Edge ranking is none other than the Ole Miss standout, Princely Umanamian. I have him projected as a 4-3 defensive end. Princely Umanamian right now is number 14 on the Beast list, and I'm not sure where else he's been ranked. I just don't see how this kid cannot be taken somewhere in the top 10 of the edge rushers. Way too much skill. Princely, intriguing edge rusher. He comes packaged with an ideal physical profile, an arsenal of pass rushing skill that make him a prospect to watch. He checks all the boxes: size, reach, arm span. All enables him to disrupt passing lanes and shed blockers effectively. 2024 season, Umanamian started 6 of 12 games in 2024, so he doesn't have the starting quality, which I believe is what is slipping him on some draft boards. Now he racked up 37 tackles, but get this, 13 and a half tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, and 10 and a half sacks, which ranks as the second most sacks in Ole Miss Rebels history. Physical attributes. The guy has it, man. Ideal NFL size as an edge rusher. Physical standpoint, he stands at 6'4", 244 pounds. His frame offers the necessary size, but he needs to get bigger. The longer arms, which are 34 inches plus, and an elite ape index of 1.08, tells me he'll be able to bulk up just fine. Pass rush skills. Finesse edge rusher, or edge defender. Quick burst, rapid jab step. He is a serious ground gainer with burst, stride, and bend to create shallow edges leading directly to the quarterback's drop space. This rapid jab step that he uses and polished spin move allow him to backdoor the quarterback. Sometimes he uses it a little bit too much, but when he uses it effectively, man, he spins and he is right on top of the quarterback. It's a move that has seen him lead his team in sacks for 3 consecutive seasons. He's simply just hard to keep out of the pocket due to his attributes. His backfield play, he has a nasty inside counter spin move that he times perfectly when the tackle's overset. It shows up repeatedly in the Georgia and Arkansas games. Quick processor who recognizes blocking schemes rapidly. He rarely gets caught out of position against any misdirection in the run game. And of course, he made the Feldman's freaks list at number 17. This is what Feldman had to say. The Texas native began his career at Florida before transferring to the Rebels and was a big reason Ole Miss set program records in sacks with 52 and TFL's 120, leading the nation in both categories. The 6'4", 255-pounder tied for the team lead with 10.5 sacks and had 13.5 TFLs. He had 25.5 sacks and 38 TFLs during his college career. Umanamian has elite get-off speed and bend. His coaches expect him to run the 40 in the 4.5s, and his 10-yard split should be blazing. Unfortunately, he ran the 40 at 4.72, and his 10-yard split was 1.61, which is right there. That 1.61 is right there for me for an elite defensive end to show enough speed and burst off the edge to get into the backfield. Run defense. Change of direction. Ability really pops on tape, especially when he's running stunts. He can stop and redirect without losing momentum. That fluidity that he possesses in the hips, it's just, I don't even really know how to describe it. It's just, it's like a chain link. It's just kind of moving with ease like a snake. I mean, he moves from one side to the other really fluidly. High level competitive toughness really shows up in his pursuit. Hair on fire, man. He's chasing down these screens and outside runs with ease. Weaknesses, just like everybody else, he takes some predictable pathways to the pocket. He lacks instincts at times. Play strength and aggression as a run defender definitely needs some work. Has difficulty converting his speed into a forceful bull rush. Again, it's a technique thing that I think that he's going to master within the first 2 years of being in the NFL. The transition from quick first step to a more powerful, sustained engagement with offensive linemen remains a work in progress. His hand usage, disrupting pass protection, and shedding blockers could be more aggressive and proactive. His reactions in accessing rush counters and his stack and shed techniques often lack suddenness. Again, all of this stuff will be trained at the next level. This technique stuff, he'll be able to work it out. My biggest concern, he had a little bit of trouble setting some edges and might not be an early down option in his career against the run. And I only say that because I feel like Ole Miss, just like we're going to talk about with the Scortons and Shamars, I felt like Ole Miss was like the Purdue for Nick Scorton and Shamar, where hair on fire, get after the quarterback, playing loose, versus an A&M Aggies defense where it's more of contain and do your job, right? This defense that he was in, I felt like they were fire all the time, right? They're just trying to get after the quarterback. So he didn't contain the edge or set the edge as well as he probably should have, but he'll learn, right? The film shows a pass rusher who operates best with his hand in the dirt in wide alignments where he can maximize his length and burst. His third down impact really jumps off the screen. The way that he embarrassed Georgia's right tackle with a lightning quick first step before countering inside showcased exactly what he brings to an NFL front. Ascending stand-up edge rusher, Princely. I feel like he's just scratching the surface. He's already a threatening rush talent. His elite burst and pass rushing skills make him a player to watch. Even if he falls to day 2 due to the depth of this year's class, someone's going to win. Someone's definitely going to win when he falls to day 2. Princely may be the 4th best pure, even front defensive end prospect in this class. That could be even as high as 3 for me. Projected grade, I think he's round 1 back end, probably into round 2. I don't know why that says number 4. That should say number 45. So I think he's going to be somewhere between 31 and 45. And who knows? There may be a team that loves him that really jumps up. Lions draft prospect, oh yeah. As the Kool-Aid man would say, my guess is at least one team has a first-round grade on Princely. I don't see him lasting past pick 45. If the Lions can move up into round 2, it is a solid pick for the Lions. Of course, it depends on what happens with round one. If the Lions take an edge first, they most likely will not be doubling down on edge that early. Number 7.
All right, number 7. I am going to surprise a lot of people right here. I have Mike Green as my number 7. All right, PFF at number 7 has Mr. Nick Scorton from Texas A&M. And then at number 7 on the Beast list is Mr. James Pierce. So what did you have at number 7, Will?
Well, man, we're not that far off on Mike Green, but I have Donovan Eziraku, Boston College, and I have him projected as a 3-4 outside linebacker. This year's class it's just got me befuddled a little bit, because I think that you could take and separate the true linebackers, and then you really need to take and look at this edge class and you divide it into 2 factions, 4-3 and 3-4, because there's too much mixture going on here. I think a lot of these guys should be playing in a different scheme, but that doesn't mean they're going to end up that way. Anyway, Eziraku, love him. Very early in my first round mock, I talked often about Donovan. I felt that he was going to be explosive at the next level, and he's going to make somebody extremely happy. And I felt like he was flying under the radar 7 weeks ago. And now all of a sudden, over the last 2-3 weeks, everyone's talking about Donovan. I pegged it very early that he was going to be a mover in this class, and he has been. He's gone from like number 10 to, I mean, in some cases, he's as high as number 3 or 4. Let's see, the Beast has him as number 6. But that was as a 3-4 linebacker. It wasn't even as an edge rusher. So he's really shocked, I think, quite a few people, including myself, very early on. But Donovan Eziraku, number 7 on my 2025 NFL Draft rankings for edge. Slightly undersized as a 4-3 defensive end. The tape I watch, Donovan projects to become an outside linebacker in a 3-4 base front at the next level. Long arms, plus athleticism. He uses every bit of his length paired with his aggression to mitigate the size differences at the point of attack. The 2024 season, he played in 12 games. He had 11 starts, racked up 80 tackles and a pass breakup, and then he ranks 2nd in the FBS with 16.5 sacks, 3rd with 20.5 TFLs, and led the team with 3 forced fumbles. Let me pause right there. I could really put Donovan much higher on this list. The fact that he has 37 combined TFLs. And what do I mean by that? I said it the other day. A sack is just a TFL on the quarterback. A TFL is just a sack on any other player on the offensive side of the football. 37 TFLs last year on 80 tackles. This guy knows how to get into the backfield. And that's why some of these players like him are going to slide up these draft boards, because it is extremely difficult to find a guy that knows how to get into the backfield like he does. Would he be a 3rd down specialist? Possibly. Would he have to deal with that maybe his first season or 2? Potentially. But I think that there's obviously a bigger need for him in a 3-4 scheme. Physical attributes. 6'2.5", got to put that half in there. 248 pounds, 34-inch arms, 9.25-inch hands. Donovan may not be the prototypical big end or speed end size in a 4-3 scheme or in an even front scheme. But what he is, though, is a scud missile built with long, lean frame and an elite ape index. He's tipping the scales at 1.11. He is the longest of all 2025 draft prospects. Pass rush skills. Eziraku is not just an athlete. This dude is a technician. He employs sophisticated rush plans, outsmarts offensive tackles. He utilizes a well-timed Euro step, creates the space, uses sudden overarm counter when tackles seem to overset a little too early. His relentless pursuit resulted in an average of 1.38 sacks per game. Let's make that number even better. That's like 2.8 TFLs per game. The highest in FBS occasionally relies too heavily on finesse moves when a simple bull rush would just be more effective. Backfield play, high level processing speed, allows him to counter inside when tackles overset. His go-to move is the jab step with a slap cross chop to pry open the rush lane. He uses a very quick swim arm and gets over to blow through the tight end's blocks, getting into the backfield quickly to make a play. His backfield play is bar none the best of anyone in this class. Run defense. Iziraku is extremely active in the run defense game, often in the backfield, as has been exploited here by his 37 TFLs, rarely misses tackles. Why? Long arms, long wing, great ape index, but he doesn't necessarily just use his arms. He is a wrap and drive tackler. He uses length to chop down and erase blocking hands, and he gets his long arms outstretched to the runner. He is likely to accumulate plenty of tackles for loss as a 3-4 outside linebacker at the next level. He has flaws and some weaknesses, just like everybody else, as Iziraku may struggle against power, particularly when larger tackles can establish control. He lacks ideal anchor strength to consistently set a firm edge against the run, sometimes getting displaced by double teams. While he has good burst, he lacks elite straight line speed to consistently win purely with athleticism at the next level. I could not find a 40 time for him or his 10-yard split, but just watch the tape. The guy moves. Leadership and character. At the 2025 NFL Combine, Iziraku often offered revealing insights into his leadership and character. Reflecting on his role as a team captain, he recalled a moment when several freshmen and sophomores approached him after a pivotal win. In his words, they told him, quote, "Don, I really appreciate you for everything," close quote. Racked up some awards in 24. He won the Ted Hendricks Award, nation's top defensive end, first team Associated Press All-American, and the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, and the first team All-ACC. He led the nation again with 16.5 sacks. Donovan's explosiveness as a pass rusher embodies advanced set of pass rush moves. While he may be a specialist to kind of start his career, his upside is significant. And he should make an immediate impact, I believe, day one in the NFL. In a standout game against Western Kentucky, I know it's just Western Kentucky, 14 tackles, 3 sacks, and a strip sack showcased his ability, obviously, to dominate lower quality opponents. And I think that there's something to be said there. When you can dominate lower quality or what's deemed as a lower quality opponent, well, that's what you should do. If you don't show up in those games, that would worry me. When you're going up against the better quality opponents, you still need to perform. But it would be a misperformance at this case if he didn't perform. Like I said, that would worry me a lot more. He tends to get engulfed at times, but typically separates or slips the blocks cleanly. He's got a quick off-the-snap move, uses bend and agility to win at the top of the rush, or makes the stops in the backfield. His hands exploit small advantages to turn them into big ones, and he has a variety of ways to challenge protection. He's still learning to craft his plans like everybody else is at this age. Iziraku's play demeanor, skill, and athletic talent are the underpinnings of a productive starter with 3-down value. I don't see him playing 3 downs just yet, but we'll see. My comp, I only found one so far, and that's Harold Landry. Lions potential draft prospect. This was hard for me. As much as I love Donovan, I'm going to go ahead and say no with this one. I think that the Lions, obviously we don't run a 3-4, and I think that he projects as a 3-4. So unless they view his coverage ability to be elite or something that can be worked on, he would be a special teams ace. He could be a third down passing down specialist right now for the Lions, but that didn't work out for James Houston. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell stress versatility, and the need for immediate depth. I just can't see the Lions taking a player that early in the draft that may only be a 20% snap guy. So again, unless his coverage ability is elite in their eyes, well, then, yeah, you could put him as a Will or a Sam linebacker in a 4-3. So I'm kind of out right now on the Lions having an option. But BPA all day means that Brad Holmes is going to find a way. Who's at number 6?
So at number 6, this is where I have Mr. Landon Jackson. PFF at number 6 has Shamar Stewart. And then the Beast has Donovan Izaraku at number 6.
Donovan Izaraku at number 6, huh?
Yeah.
And you had Landon?
And at number 6, I had Landon Jackson.
Okay. Anything you want to add to Landon Jackson as far as anything that you noted on him?
Just Landon, I saw a player that I think would fit with the Detroit Lions like a glove, especially if we can get him in the second round. May have to do a little bit of a reach and take him at number 28, but I don't think after 3 years you're going to be saying it was a reach at 28.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly. It definitely would not be a reach. And see, that's where this draft to me is fun, because I think that the Lions can definitely move back at 28. Like, if you're, the way I would evaluate it is if my board, I have 8 guys that I really want on this football team that I have, ranked in the first 2 rounds, and you're sitting at 28, and these 8 guys are still on the board, and someone wants to trade, 34 or 35 with you, well, you're still going to get one of those 8. So why wouldn't you move back? It may not be the edge rusher that you wanted, but it could be another football player. And that's where I think that the best player, all day and Brad finds a way means, you could trade back and still get a really good football player and stack some more early draft picks that we desperately need, I think, in this draft. Number 6 for me. You might be surprised. Maybe not. Mike Green. So number 6 on my 2025 NFL draft rankings for the edge position is Mike Green, Marshall. And yes, I have him too as a 3-4 outside linebacker. It's kind of funny how a lot of these guys are mocking up that way, but they just are. When you watch them play, the style they play, the size, it's just where I've got them, selected right now. And we'll see what happens in the draft. What team they go to will tell us if we were right or wrong on our assessment. Or maybe these players get drafted into the wrong scheme, and then it really shows up because they won't be productive. So Mike Green, his journey from a former wide receiver to a standout edge rusher really exemplifies the evolution of the modern NFL defender. With a background in wrestling, which I love, by the way, Green leverages his hand usage, core strength, and understanding of leverage to excel as a pass rusher. After a transformative stint at Marshall, he emerged as a dominant force in 2024, leading the FBS in sacks and earning the Walter Camp First Team All-American honors. Now, despite some concerns about his size, his advanced pass rushing moves and relentless effort make him a first-round lock. Is he? I don't know. I think he is. I'm pretty sure he is. 2024 season, actually, I'm not sure at all. 2024 season, he led the FBS with 17 sacks, recorded 84 tackles as a defensive lineman, achieving 144 sack yards, 42 yards more than the second-place finisher. He consistently recorded tackles for loss in 12 of 13 games. Like I said, he earned the Walter Camp First Team All-American honors and the Sun Belt Player of the Year award. Physical attributes. At 6'3", 251 pounds, and 32 3/8-inch arms, small hands, 8.5 inches, Green boasts an average APE index score of 103. So this is where he lacks size. At 6'3", really it's a little bit like 6'2 3/4. He's not tall. At 251 pounds, he's not heavy. And at 32 3/8-inch arms, those are good. 8.5-inch hands, not so great. And the APE index of 1.03 tells me he's about maxed out at his weight right now. So the average arm length, the smaller hands, the limiting elite size measurements I think that it's going to drop him a little bit in this draft, or it just pushes him more to that 3-4 outside backer position. He does carry elite strength, putting up 225 pounds 28 times at the combine, but there's not much more to Green's frame that can carry any more weight. What you see is what you're going to get with Green. Pass rush skills. He ranked as the only edge defender in the FBS to achieve a PFF grade above 90 in both pass rushing and run defense last season. He finished in the 95th percentile for PFF as a true pass rush grade and 99th percentile for a run defense grade. Now, he did go up against some inferior quality opponents, and some may say that that could push him down in the draft. Effectively uses his hands in a diverse array of pass rushing moves, including dips, spins, humps, and chops. He uses an advanced pass rushing repertoire with a devastating cross chop and fluid spin counter, and he definitely has a relentless motor. Yes, he made the Feldman's Freaks list. Kind of a theme going here. But at number 24, Feldman said he was one of our sleepers last year who blew up this last fall. His former coach at Marshall, Charles Huff, says that Green reminds him a lot of former Alabama star Will Anderson, who Huff was around when he was a Bama assistant, adding that Green might not be as powerful, but is probably more athletic. Green measured in at the Senior Bowl at 6'3", 251 pounds, and that was up 8 pounds from last season. Up 8 pounds from last season. But it was his first bull rush in a one-on-one move against Oregon's Josh Connerly, which obviously went viral. The dude just blew him over. Now, I don't think that Josh was ready. I think I want to give a little bit more credit to Josh on this play. Something tells me he wasn't expecting Mike Green to really come at him the way that he did. It's almost like he wasn't set. So I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock into that play, but it was pretty fun to watch. Connerly landed on his ass. Anyway, Green last offseason ran a 4.57 40 and led the nation in sacks at 17. Just a half a sack more than a couple of guys. Backfield play. Natural instincts for a rusher. Setting up moves early and countering based on tackles and tendencies. High activity rate that allows him to disrupt plays in the backfield. Green will use opponents' movements against them, and I think that he's one of the best at that, and I think that that's where his wrestling moves or his wrestling knowledge really start to come in good use here. Countering, right? That's what wrestling is all about. You want to counter whatever your opponent is doing. You want to stay on the upper hand. And I think that Green utilizes that experience on the football field. Run defense, surprising effectiveness as a run defender, capable of shooting gaps in neutralizing plays before they develop, and he utilizes the stack and shed technique, and he has really good overall gap awareness. Can be a little bit late to respond to the inside lanes, occasionally ducking into gaps. Special teams impact, he had little impact on special teams. Primarily found snaps on punt return, extra points, and field goal block units. He was not used in tackle downfield on kickoffs or punt team. Leadership and character. Mike Green's journey has not been without controversy, yet it has also revealed a resilient character and an emerging leadership quality. Throughout his collegiate career, Green faced some serious off-field scrutiny. He was accused, allegedly again, of sexual assault twice, once in high school and again through an anonymous report during his time at the University of Virginia. These allegations led to his suspension from the Virginia program and ultimately triggered his transfer to Marshall. At the NFL Scouting Combine, Green addressed these issues head on, firmly denying any wrongdoing and stating, quote, "I've never been questioned. I've never been asked," end quote. A response that underlines his confidence in his own integrity. Flaws and weakness, yep, he has them just like everybody else. He lacks elite bulk and length, which may hinder his ability to set the edge against NFL tackles. Occasionally, struggles with larger blockers and can get engulfed at times in the run game. The arm length is an issue at times, and his upper body strength needs development. Green struggles to disengage once these longer tackles lock into him. Should Green be utilized as a 3-4 outside linebacker? His limited experience in coverage, having only recorded 21 snaps over the last 2 seasons, can be a reason why teams may be a little bit apprehensive at taking him early. Biggest concern? The off-field issues and legal trouble. The smaller size as a 4-3 base front defender. Green lacks alignment versatility and should be considered a rush linebacker who attacks outside in. His ability to stack and deconstruct blocks has shown growth, but is unlikely to ever be a major strength at the next level. As far as pure power, both through his hands and his hips and core, Green could use more of it. His dominance at Marshall came with limited opportunities against group of 4 protectors, the bigger group of 4 schools, right? He did log a sack against Ohio State in 24, thanks to an outside spin on 3rd and 20, but his ability to compress the pocket and reduce angles with power is modest at best. My comp, Alex Highsmith and Bryce Huff. Projected round, I still think he can go in the first round, probably not before 15. I have him somewhere between 16 and 27 in round 1, but I could be totally off here. He could slip. It all depends on what the background comes up to be here for Mike Green. Lions prospect? I don't think so. I think they brought him in, and typically, you ask a lot of questions. I think simply put, if he were to be taken where many of the analysts have him graded, I think the Lions would need to move way up into the top 12. And I think that the Lions are just not going to do that for a guy that has some size issues, maybe some questions. I just don't see Brad wasting picks in this draft as deep as it is for edge and defensive tackle. So that was 10 through 6. Let's get into the top 5.
All right. Now, number 5, I have Donovan Ezraku as my number 5. PFF has Michael Williams from Georgia at number 5. And the Beast List has Michael Williams from Georgia as number 5.
I'm sorry. Who did you have at 5?
And I had at 5. That's where I had Donovan was at number 5.
As Iraku?
Yeah.
Beast List has Michael Williams. And who was the other projected number 5?
They're both Michael Williams for PFF and for the Beast.
Yeah, not for me. Go figure, right? Not for me.
Yeah.
Now, running up against time here. Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay, good. Number 5 for my defensive end rankings in 2025's draft. Eric, you haven't seen it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in the chat's seen it yet because I didn't release it. Who do you think it is?
Nick Gordon.
You sure about that?
He might be next on my list.
You sure about that?
All right, number 5 is actually 5A. That's right. I'm throwing a curveball in this thing. It is Shamar Stewart.
Ah, okay.
Texas A&M Aggies, I have him pegged as a 4-3 speed end. Stewart's collegiate journey has been marked by immediate impact and continuous development after committing to College Station amid interest from nearly every blue blood program on the book. He proved his worth by playing in all 12 games as a true freshman, earning 6 starts. His sophomore campaign featured a signature pick 6 against Mississippi State. And as a junior, he earned all SEC third-team honors after leading the Aggies with 7 quarterback hurries, 5.5 tackles for loss. And then in 2024 alone, Stewart logged 39 pressures on just 315 pass rush snaps. Correct that. A stat line that underscores his disruptive impact, even if his 4.5 career sacks don't fully tell the story. That has been one of the biggest knocks on Shamar Stewart, is production. And I think that I've explained it away a few times, especially in the conversation with Nicky Scorin when we were talking about Nick Scorin and what this Texas A&M Aggies defense is all about. So we'll get into all of that and readdress it again. Physical attributes, man, this guy, he's perfect when it comes to, height, weight, speed, and everything else. 6'5", 267 pounds. Stewart combines size with rare athleticism. His combine performance was nothing short of electrifying. He ran a 4.59 second 40-yard dash, smashed a 1.58 second 10-yard split. He recorded a 40-inch vertical. I mean, damn near jumped out of the gym, right? And leapt an astonishing 131-inch broad jump, 10 foot 11 inches. These numbers put him in the upper echelon of elite pass rush prospects ever. He was drawing immediate comparisons with elite talents like Myles Garrett very early in the process. That's who I comped him as. Nobody believed me. And now what do you see across all of the NFL analysts? Myles Garrett. In the last 2 weeks, that is who he's been comped as. I comped him as Myles Garrett 6 weeks ago. And I believe it's not the Myles Garrett, the pass rusher today. It's the Myles Garrett at who he was coming out of college, and with these elite traits and physical abilities that he can be a very similar pass rusher from a height, weight, speed perspective. Look, he's rare. He's a very rare athletic gift in today's NFL. Stewart's pass rush skills is defined by explosiveness and explosive athleticism. When he gets off the ball, he converts his speed to power in a manner that often collapses pockets and disorients offensive linemen. His 39 pressures in 2024 are not accompanied by a raft of sacks, but they highlight the disruptive tendency. Whether he's rushing from a wide 9 alignment or engaging in stunts and twists, his lateral agility and bullying bull rush style make him a weapon in the passing game. The raw nature of his game means that while his initial burst annihilates blockers, he sometimes lacks the nuanced moves to consistently finish at the quarterback, backfield play, and run defense. Beyond pressuring the quarterback, Stewart exhibits a keen aptitude for backfield play. His junior year tallied 5.5 tackles for loss. It is a testament to his ability to penetrate offensive gaps. He combines a disciplined gap sense with physical prowess to shed blockers, delivering violent edge setting that disrupts running lanes. His relentless pursuit from the backside when fully engaged forces second effort tackles and stymies run schemes, proving to be a serious asset against the run. In 2024, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, but I believe he had 12.5 tackles for loss.
In 24, 31 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, this says.
Is on only 5.5?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. You had 33 pressures.
Okay.
Hold on.
This one says
39 pressures, 33 of which were quarterback hurries.
Okay.
I think my numbers are all over the map. I'll finish what I wrote, and then I'll have to readjust it a little bit. Special teams contributions. Though he primarily deployed as a defensive rim shooter, Stewart's explosive nature and kinetic energy have earned him opportunities on special teams. His rapid acceleration off the snap and ability make hard, uncompromising tackles add a versatile tool to his team's arsenal, demonstrating that his impact isn't confined solely on defensive downs. I'm not so sure that he's going to be utilized on special teams at the next level. I just don't see it happening. At least not in the second year. Maybe if he lands on a team that, he would be the second backup, maybe not an immediate starter. He could get some time on teams. I mean, he's so darn fast. And with his height, weight, speed, I mean, you could definitely see him contribute, but I'm not so sure that he's going to contribute right away, but we'll see. Leadership, character, and some of his accolades here. Stewart and his on-field progression speaks to strong leadership and an unyielding work ethic. From being a highly touted true freshman to earning all SEC third-team honors as a junior, his journey is punctuated by moments of brilliance, most notably the pick six that energized his team's campaign in 2024. His durability, it's reflected in 37 collegiate appearances over 3 seasons, combined with his willingness to assume larger roles. It also illustrates a player with mature character and a competitive spirit both on and off the field. And again, we have weaknesses, right? Areas for improvement. I mean, he has tantalizing athletic traits. You can't deny that. His film sometimes raises a little bit of red flags in certain areas. In his career sack production, a mere 4.5 sacks over, multiple seasons, that has been the biggest red flag by a lot of analysts. It suggested that he struggled with finishing plays at the quarterback. I don't believe that. His pass rush largely relies on raw power and athleticism, and his underdeveloped hand usage often leaves him, a little bit of a beat behind blockers at times. But again, I don't see that as a negative in the Aggies' defensive scheme. His pad level could be inconsistent at times. Again, teachable, particularly when it's a fatigue scenario later in games. Sometimes erodes a little bit. His natural leverage allows blockers to kind of dictate the engagement. Again, teachable. These technical shortcomings, though, highlight a need for refined counter moves and an overall polish on his edge rushing moves. So where I was going with this is the defense. At the Aggies, that defense wasn't known for just pin the ears back, get after the quarterback. When they wanted to, they did. Right? When they dialed it up, they did. They didn't blitz a ton. Their overall focus was what I call like the hive defense. Is these guys were all working together to contain. It's kind of like what the Lions do, right? When Aaron Glenn was dialing up blitzes all the time, well, that was our pass rush, right? Was to blitz. Other than that, you would see where the Lions would set containment, maintain the run game. Don't let these guys run on you. And that's what I see out of the Aggies, is they were trying to set containment and not allow that run game to explode against them. So when you see a guy like Nick Scort and Shamar Stewart not getting in the backfield, not closing on the quarterback, it's not necessarily because they can't. It's because they're playing unselfish, they're playing within the scheme, and that scheme wasn't asking them to get after the quarterback on every play. My biggest concerns for him, NFL scouts are rightfully drawn to Stewart's jaw-dropping combine numbers and his ability to disrupt the line. However, the biggest concern lies in the translation of these elite physical gifts to a consistent, high-level production on game tape. It is not a big concern for me. It's just not, for everything that I just said. Now, the disconnect between flashy testing metrics and his modest collegiate sack totals is what's raised the biggest question about his ability to evolve into a dominant 3-down defender. He has raw, instinctive pass rush moves. Specifically, his finishing moves and hand technique require a little bit of refinement. This balance between athletic potential and technical development will ultimately dictate whether he can overcome the gamble of being a high upside pick with a steep learning curve, or everyone's kind of missing the boat on this guy and he's just going to hit it out of the park when he makes it to the next level. My summary on him, it's complex but simple at the same time. He's explosive. He has raw talent. He has all the physical gifts and tools to be a high-impact player in today's NFL. His 2024 season showed that he can generate pressure and disrupt both the pass and the run game. It's really making him out to be an ideally suited 4-3 or even front scheme defensive end. I am less concerned about the production inside the Texas A&M defensive scheme that did not ask him to get after the quarterback with a ton of blitz packages, or even in the one-on-one. The defense was more aligned to play soft zone concept containment. If you want a comparison for a player that was also said that he wasn't going to be great at the NFL, that was Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter didn't have much production at all in his final years at LSU. Drafted in the 3rd round, now one of the best defensive ends in the league. So you can't put all of these players to a box based on their production. you do have to rely on height, weight, speed, rare athletic ability, and then you teach the guy, right? You coach the guy. You develop the guy to be who you want him to be in your scheme. Now, while his rare combination of height, weight, speed, and agility is undeniable, earning comparisons to elite pass rushers like Danielle Hunter, his technical deficiencies, particularly in finishing plays and consistent hand usage, does cast a little shadow over his overall tape production. But I think just like everybody else, he has things to work on, and he'll work on it. We know one thing about Shamar Stewart. The guy is relentless when it comes to his work ethic. For teams willing to invest in the development of these raw skills, they're going to get a high upside pick out of Stewart that has the potential to morph into a name that we are going to hear for many seasons to come, just wreaking havoc on offensive lines. I think the challenge remains this, though. Can he transform his high-end athletic profile into a consistent production on the field? Or will he remain a tantalizing prospect whose potential ultimately burns too bright on the testing bench? Stats and measurements for this guy. Thor Nystrom put, a few things together on him, but I'm going to go ahead and say that I don't see a ton that concerns me with Shamar Stewart. I think that Shamar Stewart is going to end up being one of the best 4-3 ends in the game in a short period of time. It may take him a season to get acclimated. It may take him 2 seasons to transform his body even more, right? Get leaner, add some muscle. He has the frame. He has the elite ape index. He has everything that he needs. All the tools are in the tool shed for this guy. It just needs to click up here. And that is the one piece that I can share with you in my conversations with an unnamed source, that it is the mental side of the game that needs to click with these guys. But most notably, Shamar Stewart has everything. It just needs to click upstairs. And once it does, his words, he'll be unstoppable. Shamar Stewart, 5A. Who's next for you?
Oh, let's see. So you had 5 and 5A?
5A and 5B.
I don't have a 5A and 5B. So do you want me to skip to number 4?
Yeah. You're number 4.
All right. So my number 4 is Mr. Nick Scorton. And then on the PFF top 4, they have number 4 on their top 10 as James Pierce Jr., which I think is way too high. He was a workout maniac, and that was it. And then they have number 4 for the Beast list is Mike Green.
Yeah, so I see Nick Scorton at number 12 behind Jack Sawyer, behind Jordan Birch, behind Landon Jackson, behind JT Tuimwalu. Yep. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. At all.
Nope.
Before I get to 5B, there is a name that I do want to throw out, and that is Oluwafemi Oladejo. So we did linebackers yesterday, right?
Yep.
And I don't remember if I shared this or not. I see Oladejo potentially becoming a linebacker at the next level. 261 pounds, 6'3", could be a potential. If they don't see where he can put on some weight, I think he could end up being a really good 3-4 outside backer at the next level. Maybe not so much a 4-3. But I just wanted to share that. I like Oladejo. He's someone that I pointed out. I believe it was the Reese's Bowl when we were live. He popped off the page. He's at number 13, and he's ahead of Princely Umanamian and Josiah Stewart, which Josiah Stewart is another one that I feel is going to be a really good 3-4 outside backer and potential will linebacker in a 4-3 scheme. So, again, there's just so much crossover here between the edge and the linebacker. 5B. That's right. 5A was Shamar Stewart. Well, 5B has to be none other than Nick Scorton. So Nick Scorton is number 5B on my 2025 edge list in the 2025 NFL Draft. Texas A&M Aggies. I have him as a 4-3 big end, which Marcus Davenport position, right? The big end. the can crusher. I just couldn't separate Nick Scorton and Shamar Stewart. It was really hard to put one ahead of the other. But I think that Nick Scorton is a little bit more refined. I think that he possesses a little bit more skill to be impactful on day one. Doesn't mean that Shamar Stewart won't get selected ahead of him. Doesn't mean that Nick Scorton may not get drafted till the second round. But I think that when all the dust settles, and again, we redraft this next year, and then in 2 more years after that, I think the cream rises to the top, and I think that one of those players is Nick Scorton. So Nick Scorton, physical edge presence with the potential for creating havoc on all 3 downs. His pro day went about as well as you could expect. The combine, not so much, kept losing his shoes. So it couldn't really give us that polished look at Nick Scorton, if you will, that I was looking for. But the upside was there. You could see that Nick moved extremely well. He showed a very low center of gravity, hugged the ground as he made his way around the hoop drill. Matter of fact, the video that his father shared with me that day, Nick, he just blazed through that hoop drill extremely fast. Shoes stayed on, so you could finally see the true ability of him being able to lay low to the ground. Scorton can power across a blocker's face into the gaps or set and contain. He can do both as a run defender or as a pass rusher. He plays with adequate hustle and range in pursuit as he hits runners with heavy pads and extremely violent hands. This guy is a boxer with his brother, right? They box occasionally during their training over the last many years, and you can really see that first punch, right, or that jab arm, that long arm, that first contact that he gets out on the tackles. I think it's been well-defined just from doing a little bit of boxing with his brother. It really shows up to me. Physical attributes, 6'3", 260 pounds. Now, he's down from, I believe it was 281 pounds. The Aggies asked him to go up in weight. So when he transferred from Purdue to the Aggies, he gained about 20, 25 pounds, which, again, I think you have to understand, I put more weight on the Purdue tape. That is the Nick Scorton at the next level. However, the Aggies tape is also Nick Scorton. If you want a can-crushing, edge-setting defensive end, look at the Texas A&M Aggies tape. If you want a speed end and someone that can get into the backfield and get after the quarterback, go look at the Purdue tape. When you blend the two together, I don't think that there is a more refined and polished edge rusher in this class next to Abdul Carter. That's just my take. Elite Ape score, 1.09, tells me when he goes up in weight, he can handle it. When he goes down in weight, that's all the more better. He can get faster and leaner as needed. He can gain weight as needed. And that has clearly been identified at both schools and what he has done this offseason in the combine and pro draft or pro day production. Third best Ape Index score of all edge rushers in this draft. That is very meaningful. And I know that I'm the only one highlighting the Ape Index, but hey, that's just what makes me different. And it's something that I feel that separates these guys from each other. His demeanor, his rush talent, it gives him a chance to become a productive 3-down starter off the edge. His pass rush skills, I think, like I said, are very well defined. One of Scorton's most refined weapons is his devastating spin move. With exceptional quickness and precise hand placement, he repeatedly beats tackles cleanly to generate pressure. His advanced repertoire of pass rushing moves include an effective club swipe, cross chop, and two-hand swipe technique. He keeps blockers guessing and often forces them into uncomfortable situations, creating penalties and mistakes. He's an eclectic rusher with a mature rush plan, rarely shows opponents the same look on consecutive plays, and I call this the setup. It's what Nick Scorton is known for, timing his opponent's weaknesses. The LSU game in 2024 shows exactly this against Will Campbell. He won't outrace or bulldoze tackles. Instead, he uses a bit of tempo alteration and a bag full of moves and counters to do it. Teams threw chips and double teams his way out of concern and respect. Teams just don't do that. There's a reason why they do that. When he's commanding that much attention, there's a reason why. His burst into the B gaps and his ability to convert speed to full-blown power are hallmarks of his game. It's providing immediate value as a designated pass rusher at the next level. Backfield play and disruption. This is also what sets Nick apart from the rest of the class. He has a relentless motor behind the line of scrimmage, whether it's chasing down misaligned blockers or recovering from a missed initial move. His tenacity ensures he's always in the mix. His knack for quickly penetrating the backfield disrupts offensive schemes. It causes quarterbacks to hesitate, pat the ball, and offensive linemen to scramble, often resulting in additional pressures, tackles for loss, or a game-changing turnover. And of course, he made the Feldman's Freaks list at number 25, where he said, the Big Ten sacks leader in 2023 at Purdue. Did you know that? In 23, he led the Big Ten. Crazy. Not so much for me. 6'4", 280 pounds at Purdue. He was voted a team captain at age 19. He transferred close to home at A&M and then led the Aggies with 5 sacks in 2024 and had 14 TFLs, one fewer than he had in 2023. His old defensive line coach at A&M, Sean Spencer, thinks that Scorton's 40 time will be in the 4.7 range, but adds that his agility numbers will be fast. Agree. His 40 time is untested because we don't have it. However, I think that when you look at his play speed, his game film, I think that he plays a heck of a lot faster than what his 40 would ever show you. And to me, that's what matters most. I have not found any GPS numbers, but we will continue to try. Run defense and tackles for loss. In run stopping situations, Scorton's natural physical strength really shines. His ability to read plays and secure the point of attack makes him a force against the run. Even when facing tight ends or double teams, his power rushing style often jams blockers, putting him in a position to record extra tackles for loss. His instincts in the gap and willingness to chase plays down from behind further enhance his contribution on the run defense. His special teams contributions show that he's a versatile athlete. Scorton has also demonstrated value on special teams. His experience across all 4 units is particularly noteworthy because he's shown a knack for blocking kicks and making high-impact plays on coverage. That kind of extracurricular contribution underscores his commitment to winning and his willingness to do whatever it takes for his team. Run defense and tackles for loss. I think I already did that one. 2024 season. He led the team with 5 sacks. He ranked 3rd in the SEC with 14 tackles for loss, 2 passes defensed, 1 forced fumble. He was named a Lombardi Award semifinalist, Walter Camp All-American second team, All-SEC first team selection, and the Lott Impact Trophy finalist. Weaknesses and biggest concerns. I'm going to say it for the 100th time. No prospect is without areas for growth. Scorton has a little bit of hip tightness at times. It can sometimes hamper his ability to flatten down or around the corner. It forces him to be pushed up the arc against technically sound tackles. He has occasionally struggled to maintain leverage when facing double teams. Who hasn't? And his reliance on his explosive first move means that once it gets neutralized, he can sometimes struggle to string together another counter move. That is teachable. It is something that is going to require a lot of muscle memory. And when fatigue sets in, his pad level can rise a little bit, leading to a little bit more of arm tackling. And I would say that everybody in this class has that same issue. These concerns suggest that while his raw talent is still immense, I think it means that a little bit more of a further refinement in conditioning, counter move development, tackling discipline will be some of the first things that he's going to need to work on at the next level. I definitely believe that he has the potential to be an every down contributor. These weaknesses are nothing more than a young athlete that will require further technique training in the NFL. Nick is the second youngest prospect in the draft. These things are coachable, and Nick is definitely coachable and excels in not making the same mistake twice. I will go back to what I call the setup. I think I put a video together. If I didn't, I will today. But you just got to watch the guy work against Will Campbell. It's like the first time he's going in and he gives him one move and kind of, sees what Will Campbell's going to do. The next snap, he gives him a different flurry of pass rush moves, hooks him, and then tries to go, into the backfield. Both times you could tell he really wasn't trying to get into the backfield. And then the third time, it was rip, curl, under, bam, in on the quarterback. Totally set Will Campbell up. And that's exactly what his father, Nicky Scorton, lamented when we spoke about the ability for Nick to utilize a very high cerebral level of football knowledge and IQ. Leadership, character, and accolades, I think I kind of went over this a little bit, but he is known as a leader on and off the field. Coaches and teammates have all noted his relentless pursuit of excellence and his ability to inspire those around him. At only 20 years old, his poise and maturity already set him apart as a promising locker room leader who can elevate the team performance. During an interview with Nick's father, we learned that the NIL money that Nick received didn't change his demeanor. It did not change him, as an individual of who he was, coming from absolutely nothing and then finally having something. Matter of fact, it changed other people. And what I mean by that is he changed other people's lives first. It's near and dear to my heart because it's exactly what we try to do with the Rockhound Cancer Foundation. Nick has a huge heart and helped his community every chance he had, especially reaching out to the youth and providing and proving why he is not just a great football player, but he's a great human. And I'll add some of these links to some of the interview questions that we had with Nicky Scorton. My final take on Nick. He's got a crazy good blend of size, explosiveness, and a polished pass rush arsenal that still needs refinement. He's going to make an immediate impact in a 4-3 scheme, particularly as the bigger end, I think, edge rusher, assuming that he's going to add that 20 pounds back. I value his Purdue tape, like I said in the beginning, more so than the Aggies tape from a pass rushing standpoint. Nick was completely let loose to be who he wanted to be at Purdue, which was a dominant edge rusher with incredible skill and talent. Matter of fact, his father, Nicky, said that Purdue kind of asked him what he wanted to do. They went to him to ask him what he saw would work and then let him do what he felt was best. And that's why he had such an incredible season. Now, the defensive scheme from Purdue to Texas A&M, very much different, especially in what they asked of Nick. I feel that it just proved even more so how versatile Nick Scorton is. The unselfish play at Texas A&M shows him to be a team player willing to do what it takes within the scheme, technically sound, and to get the job done. His Purdue time shows he can win against top-tier offensive lines, playing with control and discipline. His immediate value as a designated pass rusher is unquestionable. However, if he continues to refine his counter moves and maintain his pad level throughout games, his long-term ceiling could very well include Pro Bowl recognition as an every down edge setter. Scorton embodies a rare combination of raw, physical, athletic ability, and technical finesse. It makes him one of the most intriguing defensive prospects, and whoever misses on this guy, you're going to be sorry. My draft comp, Randy Gregory and Brian Burns. And that's it for Nick.
Ah, very nice. So what number do you want to go to next?
So this would bring us to 3.
All right. So my number 3 is Shamar Stewart. And then PFF's number 3 is Donovan Ezraku for PFF. And number 3 for the Beast, just like me, is Shamar Stewart.
Just like you, like the beast, or just like you, the score?
I had
No,
so
are
my
you a beast, or are you saying that the number in the player's right?
number 3. Yeah, I had Shamar Stewart at number 3.
I think you missed it.
Beast had number 3.
I was
Over my head.
calling you a beast.
Oh, okay. Over my head this morning.
That's all right. Man, I've been talking so much, my mouth is like freaking sandpit.
Yeah, Riley was asking me why I'm not talking so much today. I'm just letting you go, man. Just letting you go.
Well, it's because this is everything that I prepared it's a lot. It's
so
a ton.
Those two players, you know, Shamar Stewart and Nick Scorton, they're two players that I could really see being Detroit Lions players. You know, either one is going to be a great addition to the Lions, and I think both of them would fit perfectly. I wouldn't be disappointed with either one of them.
Yeah, I'm trying to go back to look at some of the chat here. I guess you guys tell me. I mean, what is your honest thoughts, kind of, where we are with some of these rankings? I mean, obviously, I value some of these guys a little bit differently than others. That's the fun part of this, is you can't look at any mock and expect it to really be the same, or an evaluation and expect it to be the same. You could put 5 scouts in a row and watch the same football player. All 5 of them are going to say something different. They'll say some of the same things, but I think at the end of the day, they're all going to say something different, and they're probably going to put those scores, all the scores would be different as well.
Yeah.
So it's just the tape, man. I think that's where you have to rely. The height, weight, speed, the measurements, the agility, it gives you an idea. The tape it has to compare to. And if you get a chance to get even more information, the background stuff, well, I think that helps solidify. But if I were to put a grade on evaluation, I would say probably 75% tape. Nah, I'll take that back. I'll go 65% tape. Probably 20% Combine Pro Day. And the balance is your background reports, which I think the background reports, obviously, and the medical reports, they're going to have more weight to, if they're bad, they're going to have more weight. If they're good, they're useless, right? Because you already know. You already know that the player's good, if that made any sense. At the end of the day, the tape is what matters the most. So my number 3 for the 2025 NFL Draft Edge Rankings, top 5, number 3, Mykel Williams, Georgia. Now, Mykel Williams, I have as a 4-3 or even front defensive end. This dude, Mykel Williams, man, he has been a standout since his days at Hardaway in Georgia. As a Columbus native and 5-star recruit, he immediately proved his worth by earning a freshman All-America honor. His 2024 season, despite his role in a very deep rotation, Williams showcased his potential with a statement performance in the SEC championship against Texas. He tallied 2 sacks and 5 quarterback pressures in that game. His cumulative stats may be a bit modest due to his limited snaps. Every appearance, though, underlines his disruptive impact. Really hints at the kind of production that he might be able to deliver when given a full share of responsibilities in the NFL. In 24, he finished with 80 tackles and a mind-boggling 20 and a half tackles for loss, 16 and a half sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 1 pass defensed. Just insane numbers. When I take a look at his physical attributes at 6'5", 265 pounds, 34 3/8 inch arms, 10 1/4 inch hands, Williams may have the best overall size mixed with rare mix of power and athleticism. His frame may be maxed out, though, as his ape index falls in the lower tier at 1.04. Don't let that fool you, as he has some of the longest arms in the class. Mykel did not test for speed or agility at the combine, outside of some of the drills, but his 40 is projected to be in that 4.75 range. The blend of long limbs, explosive strength, and surprising quickness makes him a physical specimen, one who can effectively engage and dismantle blockers along the edge and also in the interior. His pass rush skills, they're defined by his power at the point of attack. He consistently uses violent, well-timed hands to control his blocks. He employs a forceful bull rush that often collapses the pocket. His ability to adjust his rush plan mid-snap, coupled with a natural feel for the opposing blocking scheme, forces offensive linemen into uncomfortable positions. However, his current reliance on power moves also suggests that he could benefit substantially from adding varied techniques to his arsenal. His backfield disruption, backfield play, though he can sometimes be a fraction late off the snap, he has an elite motor. It becomes very evident when he chases plays through the backfield. His determination in pursuing misaligned blockers and penetrating through traffic enables him to just wreak havoc in the secondary. He's turning potential breakaway plays into opportunities for additional pressures and turnovers. Run defense, run stops, tackles for loss. He clearly demonstrated last year that he can get into the backfield. He has natural leverage. He excels in setting a solid edge and run defense. His length and heavy hands allow him to shed blockers and secure the gap. He often resulting in tackles for loss, evidenced by the 20.5 that he put up. His advanced recognition skills enable him to read plays quickly. I value that he has a high football IQ. I think that he rarely gets caught out of position. And when an offense shifts or utilizes misdirection, it doesn't fool him. He has a high aptitude for football. I think it makes him an impactful run stopper and edge defender. Even if at times his snap, limited production leaves evaluators wishing for a little bit more, I think that there's enough on him to put him up at the top of the list. On special teams, his primary reputation is built on defensive line play. His combination of size, athleticism, and motor, again, it makes him a potential asset on special teams, whether lining up on field goal units or serving roles in punt coverage. His physical traits suggest that he can contribute immediately while further developing his overall game. I didn't find a whole lot from Mykel Williams on special teams. So not real sure what he's done, but I would say that if he is utilized on special teams at the next level, which I don't see likely, I think that he'll be just fine. Leadership and character. Williams' resume is underscored by early accolades and a reputation for hard work. He earned that freshman All-America honor immediately, arriving in Athens, and then he captured a second-team All-SEC nod in 23 and 24. He has set a high standard for excellence. His dedication and competitive spirit on the field have earned him the respect of his coaches and also his teammates, projecting him as a future leader both on and off the field as well as the locker room. Couldn't really find much negative stuff on Mykel Williams. I think that he embodies what a good dude is all about. Weaknesses, just like everybody else's, timing off the snap. Sometimes he can just be a little bit late at the start of plays, which sometimes forces him to compromise his rush angle or kind of change what he's doing. His reliance on power moves or his current pass rush approach, it's really reliant on strength and is yet to develop this diverse pass rush arsenal where he's really mixing it up. That's going to take some time, right? He's going to have to learn how to take advantage of his speed and utilize more of a finesse pass rushing toolkit. His stance and momentum, sometimes it appears that he's just too fatigued. And sometimes that makes me question on why he had limited snap production. He occasionally raises his pads too high, which we often see with fatigue. But that just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me for someone that wasn't playing every down. That's a bit of a concern for me. What's going on with, his conditioning? I think his conditioning is also another weakness. I think that based on what I saw, even though I have him as number 3, I think his conditioning needs some work. I could be totally wrong here, but when the fatigue sets in, you can see the pads raise. Reaction to pulling guard. Sometimes he struggles to quickly recognize and react to a pulling guard that's entering the second level. He gets caught in traffic instead of setting the edge effectively and moving through the guards to the ball carrier. My biggest concerns, the main reservations about Williams, center on his consistency and technical refinement. Although his physical attributes and flashes of dominance indicate first-round potential, I'm going to say first-round lock, the limited number of snaps has raised the questions on whether he can translate his raw athletic ability into consistent production. Without expanding his pass rush moves and refining his technique, especially against quicker, more agile blockers, there's a legitimate concern that he could remain primarily a rotational run defender who only occasionally makes an impact in the passing game. I think that's a wild take. I think that he has the ability to be a 3-down guy. I just didn't see it. His consistency in getting into the backfield with the TFLs and the sacks, though, I mean, that is a player you want on the field all the time. So I question this limited snap thing. But again, this is Georgia we're talking about. Very deep roster last year. Of course, he struggled his sophomore season to get rolling because he was injured. Earlier in the year, he was in and out of the lineup, and he was back and ready to roll at midseason when Georgia went to Texas, and then he got after the horns immediately. Williams had 2 sacks and a forced fumble in that victory, and later in the season, when the Dogs faced Texas again, this time in the SEC title game, he had 2 more sacks and 5 quarterback hurries. He finished the season with 5 sacks and 8.5 TFLs. The 6'5", 265-pounder with 34-plus inch arms is expected by Georgia coaches to run that 40 in the 4.5s or the low 4.6s. That was the Freaks List explanation of what they felt at number 28 for Michael Williams. My summary on Michael is this. He is one of the more intriguing defensive prospects available. Impressive size, powerful frame, natural athleticism, his standout efforts, most notably his 2-sack, 5-pressure performance in the SEC championship, capture the essence of his game-changing potential. Yet his technical rawness, reliance on power-centric approach, present developmental challenges at the next level. They have to be addressed. In a scheme that nurtures his run-stopping ability and blocks-by-block pass rush, Williams could evolve into a Pro Bowl caliber defender. For teams willing to invest in a little bit of patience and a little bit of specialized coaching, which he's going to get at the next level, he represents an enticing first-round gamble with a ceiling that could redefine a defensive front. It's a little gloomy for Michael, but I get the sense that this guy is going to explode at the next level. I just feel like he needs more refinement, more time on task, as Dan Campbell would say, and he needs some development. But you can't ignore, just like a Shamar Stewart that has some of the same or similar issues, you can't ignore the physical ability, the power, the height, weight, speed. You can't ignore that because some of that stuff you just can't teach. You can teach some of this stuff. You can't teach height, weight, speed. You just can't. Well, weight you can change, but you get what I'm saying. That's it for number 3. I think that Michael Williams is a day one guy, and I have him going in the top 20.
So I had Michael Williams at number 2. PFF has Mike Green at number 2. And then the Beast has Jalon Walker at number 2. And we had Jalon Walker on our linebackers list yesterday.
Yeah, I still have him obviously in the edge list.
Okay.
It's just, that's why I'm saying there's crossover.
Okay.
And, all right, so back to Michael. I have him as a 4-3, even front defensive end. Not so sure if Look, if he runs in the 4.5s or 4.6s and he has a 1.6, 1.61, 1.62, 10-yard split, you could absolutely put him as a speed end. You could absolutely do that. I don't know what it is because I don't have those numbers. Maybe I missed it, but I don't have those numbers. I don't know if you've seen it anywhere.
No.
So I didn't see it. If someone in the chat recognized, any of his, speed testing, I just didn't see it. All right, so Jelon Walker, you got to give me 1 second.
So I'm guessing he's your number 2.
Yeah, number 2 is Jelon Walker. But again, is he an edge? Is he a backer? What is he? This draft is it's unique. It's unique because it's deep. It's unique because you've got this crossover that, okay, so for instance, like NFL Draft Buzz, I just wanted to go see what they were going to say on Jelon Walker. They don't have him as an edge rusher. They have him as a linebacker. I guess ask the question in the chat. Where do you put him? Because he's the number 1 overall linebacker and number 2 overall linebacker. Is he a 3-4 outside edge rusher? I guess that's the biggest question. I have him as a linebacker, firmly as a linebacker. 6'2", 245 pounds. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. So this is why I didn't put a ton into today's exercise for number 2 or number 1. I think that we know enough about Abdul Carter that we don't even really have to touch on it. He's number 1 overall. Doesn't mean that I agree. Doesn't mean that I don't feel like there could be some better prospects. And what I mean by that is when we get to year 2 or 3, it doesn't mean that we won't have guys that are better than him. Stat-wise, guys that are producing better than Abdul Carter. Just right now, Abdul Carter is getting all of the love. And yeah, he had an incredible couple of years. You can't deny Abdul Carter and what he is. But that still doesn't mean we won't find guys in the next year or two coming out of this class that are going to have a better career. That's just my initial guess. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to defer to Draft Buzz on Jelon Walker. Now I wrote something, but I'm going to defer, and you'll see it later when I post it. But I might change up some of these a little bit. So Jelon Walker, number 2. He is my number 2 edge rusher, but he is simply a 3-4 outside linebacker, in my opinion, or a 3-4 outside edge rusher, whatever you want to call it. He's 3-4 outside. If you put him 4-3 even front, I would be highly surprised. He became a defensive chess piece in 2023, where he terrorized quarterbacks with 5 sacks, despite playing primarily in a reserve role. In the 24 season, this is where he exploded onto the national stage. He earned the prestigious Butkus Award while anchoring a ferocious Georgia defense. His versatility shined brightest against Texas, where he recorded 3 sacks and consistently disrupted the backfield, earning SEC Defensive Player of the Week awards. Well, doesn't that sound just like the last guy I was talking about? Mykel Williams. Both of these guys at Georgia. Mykel Williams having a limited snap play because of Jelon Walker, but potentially. So both of those guys terrorized Texas. Now, he's 6'2", 245 pounds. And according to Draft Buzz, he ran the 40 in a 4.5. He just blazed the 40 at 4.5. His wingspan at 79, where that stacks as a ape score would be, do you have him at 6'1" or 6'2"? For Walker. Because I had him at 6'2".
I didn't have him pulled up. He was on my other sheet.
Pull up the beast list real quick. So, Jelon Walker, they have him as 6'1". So I had him at 6'2".
Yeah, this has him at 6'1" as well.
So it gives him an elite ape index of 1.08, which means he can add some weight. So I guess that's the question: is where does he belong? You know, he's listed as an edge rusher early, and then he's transformative as a outside linebacker on some lists. I mean, clearly the beast list has him listed as number 2 as an edge rusher. But at 6'1", there's no way you're going to have him as an edge rusher in an even front scheme. I couldn't imagine it. That's where guys like Bryce Huff, you know, they do well in that 3-4 outside linebacker role. And that's exactly where I've got him. So at 6'1", 243 pounds, 6'2", 243 pounds, you know, potato, whatever. His collegiate career really culminated in a senior campaign that included a first-team All-America honors from multiple publications. His development from specialized pass rusher to an every-down defender showcased his dedication in mastering the nuance linebacker play, while maintaining the explosive elements that made him a blue-chip recruit. He's not a blue chipper in this draft, though. From what I understand, from a lot of the other analyst perspectives, there's only 2 blue chips in this draft: Abdul Carter and Cam Ward. There's no others. And like I said, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that there's a few more. Scouting report on this guy says that he's developed impressive pattern matching skills in zone coverage. He has a quick step off the edge, which translates into devastating pass rush ability. He has rare bend and ankle flexion for a linebacker. Natural block destructor who uses powerful hands and leverage. He brings scheme versatility, exceptional closing speed in space, evidenced by the 4.5 40. Takes on blocks with excellent pad level and leverage. His weaknesses, still developing his instincts as an off-ball linebacker. He can get caught up playing 2 square against the offensive line. Limited starting experience with 11 starts at the collegiate level. I think that's like the biggest thing is you've got a lot of guys coming into this draft as 3-year juniors. Abdul Carter, Jelon Walker, Shamar Stewart, Michael Williams, James Pierce. Who else? Nick Scorton. These are all 3-year juniors coming out of college. Had they waited one more year, would it have mattered? I don't know. But I don't think that you wait when you've had seasons like they've had. But I think that's the problem that these teams are facing right now is you have undeniable talent. Young, really young, raw guys that have only had 1 year of starting experience. Aiden Hutchinson, kind of the same thing, right? He had that one really good senior season. Or was it junior season? No, senior season. You expected it to work out. You just didn't know if it was going to work out. But at least he had, you know, that final year. With all of these guys having a good final year as a junior, it really weights down this draft. His weaknesses. Can get caught playing 2 square, like I said, limited starting experience. Show some rawness in man coverage. Occasionally over pursues in space. His scouting summary is the explosive off the edge and development as an off-ball linebacker jump off the screen. His combination of twitch and power reminds him of Anthony Barr coming out of UCLA. The Ravens or the Cowboys would be a perfect landing spot. And given Walker's 2 years in an NFL strength program while letting him hunt quarterbacks on passing downs, and you're looking at a defensive cornerstone, his film against SEC competition proves he can hang in the NFL. See, I think that's the thing, Eric, is, you know, we're looking at, I'll come back to this one here in a second, is that, well, that's what we're looking at in today's NFL. And you know, this draft process is all of these guys are going to need some refinement and a couple years of strength and conditioning. So That's really it for today's top 10. We're going to finish with Jelon Walker at number 2 and Abdul Carter. I'm not even going to go into it. How sold are you on Abdul Carter?
He's going to go number 1.
Well, yeah, but I mean, how sold are you on this guy just being what everyone thinks he's going to be?
I don't think he's going to be. I honestly think someone like Shamar Stewart, Nick Scorton, Landon Jackson, I think one of those guys is going to end up being the best ones out of this draft.
See, I have the same feeling. Like, okay, then let me bring up Abdul Carter for just a moment.
Everybody loves Abdul Carter because he's coming out of Penn State, just like the kid from the Cowboys. What's his name there?
Parsons.
Yeah, Micah Parsons. Everybody thinks he's the next Micah Parsons because he played for Penn State. It's the same position, same coaching, all that kind of crap. I just don't see it. I don't think he's the next second coming of Micah Parsons. So there may be a surprise. He may not go number 1 or number 2.
Oh, I don't think he's going number 1. As a matter of fact, he may slip to number 5.
Yeah.
So he's getting mocked as a Chop Robinson out of Penn State. Go figure. They didn't even mock him as a Micah Parsons here. And he's also mocked as or comped, as a Kayvon Thibodeau. So let's see. In 2024, what were his stats?
Remember, Kayvon had a lot of buzz coming out of the draft, and he hasn't done squat.
No, I think he's had a decent career. It's just I don't know, for some reason people expect more than 10 sacks a season.
He hasn't been the hype guy though. He hasn't been the best guy in the NFL guy.
Well, I don't think you need to be. I think it depends on what team you're on too.
When you draft top 5, you're supposed to be the guy.
Well, I don't know. I guess when I look at Abdul Carter, yeah, he had 12 sacks at Penn State. Okay, Nick Scorton had, what was it, 12.5 or 10.5, was ever at Purdue the year before. So if you want to compare, two guys in the system that they were in, Penn State versus Purdue, I mean, Nick obviously blazed the trails in his sophomore season. That's what I would compare Nick to. See, I think that people are making a big mistake by just using Texas A&M Aggies tape to define Nick. Now, you have to use it to define Shamar, but I don't think that you need to use it to define Nick. So if you were to look at, and I'm not saying that Nick is better than Abdul. We don't know yet. And I think that they're going to have different positions. And that's the other thing that you have to look at is what positions are they going to end up in, in the NFL. Abdul's had fairly consistent seasons. 4.5 passes defensed, 30 tackles a year or more, and 6.5 sacks to 4.5 sacks to 12. Fairly consistent seasons. When I look at his PFF profile, yep, he had a 92.4 pass rush grade. He had a 78.2 run defense grade. He was a 93 in a true pass set pass rush grade. 22.6% pass rush win rate. Taking a look at the competition he went up against, though, West Virginia, he had a 43.9, his worst grade. Bowling Green, who's this other team? Something, K something. Illinois, UCLA, SC. Okay, so Wisconsin, good team. Ohio State, good team. Oregon, good team. Notre Dame, good team. So he went up against 4 solid teams in 24. If I really were to break this down like I do every once in a while for a player, is I'll go look at the average offensive line that he went up against. And then you go and look at the offensive line's ranking. So what was the tackle and the guard that he was going up against in their ranking, on the season? And if it shows me that they have poor offensive line grades and the offensive linemen have poor offensive line grades, well, then what does that say about Abdul Carter? And I'm not saying I don't know. I haven't done the work. So those are the things that I look at, and I can imagine every other team looks at it too. But in a draft like this, someone has to be the number one blue chipper, and I would say right now it is Abdul Carter because of the work that he's done over the past 3 seasons. But that doesn't mean that it translates to the NFL. We see it time and time again. It just doesn't translate. And I think after you get out of the second round, that's where it's a little bit more difficult to figure out what these guys are going to be. I think that this year, all of these teams are going to have a difficult time in figuring out just who these prospects are going to be year 2, year 3. It's tough. But anyway, it was a good exercise. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Obviously, Jalon Walker, he was my number 2. I really think he's a outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme. On Detroit Football Journal, I'll put up the final top 10 list today, or 1 through 5, and then this weekend I'll put up the other rankings before we get into it next week. Maureen says, imagine that if Nick had been at, what's TT? All 4 years. I don't know what TT is. That's supposed to be Purdue? Oh, Texas. Texas Tech. Derek Lewis says coaching and training at the next level is going to be a factor. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, Texas Tech. I can only imagine if he was at Purdue all 4 years, Marine. Like, imagine that. Where would have his stats been? You know what I mean? And I don't think that you can discredit Purdue because it's an inferior defense that he was on and going up against pretty solid offensive lines and pretty solid Big Ten. Man, I think that would have helped him out even more so. But he wanted to go to the SEC. So, all right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget to get your raffle tickets. There'll be some more things popping up today. We got pictures done, so I'll be able to get those things loaded today. And then big giveaways. So make sure you tell a friend. That is the most important thing. We need 1,000 people on the first day. There's going to be multiple shows is the plan. I'm still waiting on an email back to figure out a couple of things, but the plan is multiple shows. Like a morning show and then come back for an afternoon show and then the draft night. There's a lot going on during that week, so we're going to try to bring you as much as we can live, and then obviously later when we're all done, we'll put some videos together. So, Eric, what's your final 30, man? Who's your favorite edge? Who do you think the Lions are going to get?
If I had to guess at 28, I'm going to say Landon Jackson. That's who they're going to end up taking in that, unless Shamar Stewart or Nick Scorton drop that low, which I don't think either one of them is going to drop that low. It may be a decision like between Donovan Ezeraku or Landon Jackson at 28. That might be the choice they have to make. And making that choice, I have no clue. Now, they may come back in the second or the third round and pick up another. They may double down just like they did last year. It might not be back-to-back doubling down, but don't be surprised if the Lions double down in this draft at the edge position.
So I don't think it'll be Donovan unless Donovan is, unless his coverage is good. You know, if they have a good score on his coverage, holy shit, we sold a ton of Lions tickets today. Aiden jersey tickets. Wow, you guys killed it. So, and by the way, the jerseys, it's any color, any size. So even that new, what's the new carbon black?
Yeah, I got to get me some of those.
Yeah, so if you want the carbon black, you'll be able to get it. Now it's the normal game, jersey, so they're like I don't know, they're like $150 or whatever retail. They're not the vapor jerseys. They're not stitched. And like I said, they'll be shipped right from Pro Sports Zone. So the where was I saying? Oh, Ozaraku. If his coverage is good, yeah, I could see the Lions taking a guy like that, but I just don't know about the first round. I mean, they took Jack Campbell in the first round, but we need an Alex Anzalone replacement and somebody that can get after the quarterback. It was Peter Van Larhoven that wanted me to put out, I think, some rankings of where the Lions have been taking players based on combine, pro day visits and all that stuff. So I'll work on that. But all right, we'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Maybe some stuff popping up later today, as long as this crazy weather stays not crazy.
All right.
So you guys have a wonderful day. Go Lions, go to One Pride. We'll see you guys in the next one. Possibly.